What's good, everybody, and welcome back to the What's Good Games podcast, your source for video game news, commentary, analysis, and funny stuff every Friday. I'm Andrea Renee, joined by Miss Brittany Brombacher. Hello. That is my whiskey-loving, boot-scooting, free-tooting, Dragon Ball Z-wearing ninja.
Oh, God. This deserves an explanation, but we'll get to that in a second.
Hold for the explanation. Also joining us as very special guest, Sabriel Mastin is here.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad that we finally were able to get you on the show. I've been running into you at cons for I don't know how many years, and we were super excited to have you as part of our Extra Life stream in Fargo just a little while ago. And now we've got you on the show. So thank you so much for coming. If you guys aren't familiar with Sabriel, she does a whole bunch of stuff in the gaming space, including social media and content creation at Overbuff, and she also does a lot of freelance work. So we're looking forward to talking to you about all things BlizzCon in just a few minutes, and then of
So
course
happy
more.
you're here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we needed boots on the ground, and thank goodness you were there. So
Oh my gosh, yeah.
we have questions, so many questions, and then we'll talk more about what you're doing in the gaming space a little bit later on in the show. But we're glad that you're here. As you guys know, Steimer is still on the road in Europe, posting photos all the time on her Insta stories about the food she's eating, which is exciting.
Oh.
Yes.
I mean, it really does make my day. That stuff looks so good that she's been eating, and those drinks her and Jackie have been drinking. Oh,
Yeah, they went to Disneyland in Paris, which I want to go to someday. So maybe that'll have to be the next What's Good international destination is Paris.
I mean, I wouldn't complain. Before we get too far ahead, I want to explain my title.
Oh, yes,
that you
go.
gave me. So, as we have guests on, we like to be professionals, and we ask, how would you like us to introduce you? And Andrea randomly asked me how I would like to be introduced because she just asked Sabriel how she'd like to be introduced, and I just started talking. I just started pulling any word out of thin air, and that's what it came to. So I think that's my new official title. I think we need to change all of our paperwork. It's a good one. Business
It's going to be
cards, let's go.
difficult to fit on a business card, but I will attempt it.
We'll abbreviate it. We'll see what it says. It'll be great.
You're the best. I love you. So let's talk about a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the news. We have kind of an exciting announcement. So we've been working on this project for several months at this point. And when I say we've been working, I really mean that Balboa and Bedford has been working on the brand new whatsgoodgames.com website. If you guys have been there in the last week, you may have noticed that we got quite a visual upgrade, but now we are officially ready to unveil it. We had a couple of kinks to work out, so we soft launched it, but it looks beautiful. We hope you guys check it out, whatsgoodgames.com. They've optimized it for mobile, so if you want to check it on your phone, it looks fantastic. It has a bunch of ways that you guys can interact with our content, from our Patreon membership to our merch store. We've got links to press articles about us, and some fun stuff. So highly recommend you guys check it out if you guys have never been to our site. So a big thank you to Balboa and Bedford for making that beautiful site for us, to Carolyn and Ryan. We love it and are excited that it's finally live. Hooray! Woo! We look like real boys.
I know. I was just going to say, we're all professional grown-ups now.
I know. Do you feel extra pressure now, Britt?
I mean, kind of. It's like hard enough to wipe my ass every day, little, and now I have to try to manage this website. It's fine. It's great.
Listen, I'm just happy that you're regular, okay? Let's
Me too.
see the silver lining there, okay?
I love you.
Speaking of Patreon, if you guys want to get involved in helping to support everything that we're doing at What's Good Games, you can go to patreon.com/whatsgoodgames, where you get access to a bunch of exclusive items with your membership, including our happy hour Q&A live stream and our after hour stream, which are happening on November 21st this month. Of course, that is the week before Thanksgiving, when Steimer will hopefully come back from Europe eventually. And then we're putting her right to work.
Just stay there.
She might just love staying there. She might not, she might not come back.
That would be a
can't
sad
say I blame
day.
her.
But we
I
could
would be
probably
really sad.
Skype her in from Paris or wherever she ends up.
Sure, she'd love that.
I'm sure she would too. Might have to change our hours on when we do the show, but
I know.
that's all right.
Oh, boy. But it's going to be a fun after-hour stream because we're continuing our adventures in Man and Medan,
And we
whatever.
finally have gotten to a point in the game of the Dark or in the Dark Petrus anthology, where I think everyone's gonna start to get real dead.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready for the horror to happen.
Has anyone died yet?
No.
We've kept everyone alive, I think.
Yeah, we haven't killed anybody yet.
Go us. Go us. Keeping people
Sabriel,
alive.
Have you played Man of Medan yet?
I have not.
Did you play Until
Do you like
Dawn?
scary games?
Oh, sorry.
Nope. I'm not into the scary stuff usually.
Okay.
I will watch it, but I don't play it.
Okay. That's fair. That's what people are doing in the After Hours stream. They're watching us play the game.
Exactly.
You should come by. It'll be fun. Okay, let's give a big thank you to this month's Patreon producers, Alex Rigopulous, Chewy's Godson, David Icolucci, Faris Attieh, and Mohammed Mohammed. And welcome to our Patreon community, Kyle Stevenson, Connor Felty, Ryan Ramakrishnan,
Ramakrishnan.
Gregory Horton, and Ermagerd Arenda. That's not your real name, is it? Because if it is,
I hope not.
That's amazing. And if it is, please tell me the correct pronunciation and not my weird meme pronunciation of your name. But I really do hope that's your real name. Now let's get into the news. And this week, it is brought to you by GameStop. You guys know all about GameStop. I used to work with GameStop. We've all been inside of a GameStop, and they're kicking off the holiday shopping season with their last Pro Day sale of the year. You heard right, you guys. You can go into GameStops right now and score more than $2,600 in exclusive savings on 2,000 plus video games and collectibles. As part of GameStop's last Pro Day sale of the year, customers can expect to save up to $45 on some of the best video games, including 750 pre-owned titles under $5 and over 1,200 pre-owned titles under $10. That's a ton of video games for not very much money, you guys. Now, have you been waiting to purchase a new console? You know, we've been talking about consoles lately. Well, I've got some good news. GameStop is going to offer $50 in rewards cash with the purchase of a new PS4 or an Xbox One console, or you can get a free Starlink starter pack when you buy a new Nintendo Switch. So they do have some console deals that they're doing. They've got the Sony PS4 Slim 1 terabyte edition for $299.99, plus you'll get the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection. If you guys have never played the Uncharted games, now is a great time to get in. Plus, they've got the Xbox One S 1 terabyte version for $299.99 as well. And with that, you're going to get your choice of a Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry 5, or Monster Hunter World. All of those phenomenal games. Also,
Get Resident Evil 2.
I mean, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good pick. It's going to be a heavy contender for Game of the Year. So, I mean, cannot recommend that game enough. Plus, they've got gaming headsets starting at just $29.99, and all of their t-shirts are buy one, get one free, like this beautiful Dragon Ball Z tee that Britt is wearing. It's snazzy, Britt. I love it.
Do you remember this character's name? I told you before we started shooting.
Oh, no. The only Dragon Ball character I ever remember is Goku.
I mean, that's worth something. So I am wearing, that's okay, I won't hate. I'm wearing a Majin Vegeta t-shirt, you know, when Vegeta gets corrupted by Babidi, and he succumbs to the evil in his heart, and then he makes the ultimate sacrifice. A very pivotal moment for Vegeta in the Dragon Ball universe. Anywho, so on the side it has like this Capsule Corp logo, which we all know is the corporation, you know, that my Lord and Savior Trunks Briefs belongs to, husbando. And then on the back, you can't see it, but it has Vegeta in Japanese, and it's pretty cool. And nice. I like Vegeta. Vegeta's daddy. I like it.
So funny story about Vegeta is that I learned about Vegeta when I did my first Dragon Ball Z read for GameStop TV, and I pronounced it Vegeta the first time. And everyone on set was like, excuse me. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't play Dragon Ball. Don't be mad at me.
Vegeta. Oh, I love you, you precious baby.
It was bad.
Protect you.
But we rectified it. And if you want to rectify your Dragon Ball Z situation and get yourself a t-shirt, don't forget Pro Day is happening right now, you guys. You can learn more about becoming a Power Up Rewards Pro member by visiting GameStop.com/PowerUpRewards, or of course just head into your local GameStop. They'll be happy to tell you all about it. And these awesome sales that are happening are going on now through November 10th. So you don't have too many days to take advantage, but I can't recommend Pro Day enough. I've used Pro Day several times over the years to bring in a bunch of old games that I wasn't playing and trade them in for credit and pick up new stuff, to also like trade up your consoles. We've talked about that before, how GameStop is one of the best places to take one of your older consoles and trade it in for credit to buy a new one. They're always doing deals on that, and this Pro Day is no different. So do check them out. Let them know that What's Good Games sent you. Okay, so our first story that we're going to talk about this week is really more of a recap of last weekend. The biggest BlizzCon 2019 announcements. This is kind of a long one, so PC Gamer wrote this up, and we're going to just kind of go through these one by one. Diablo IV was announced, and it looks absolutely profane, they write. A true sequel to Diablo II that's all about satanic rituals, occult symbols, and lots of blood. Blizzard opened BlizzCon 2019 with an extended CG trailer setting up the story, and then followed that up with a few minutes of gameplay footage. There's multiple panels over the weekend that dived deeper into Diablo IV, but what we know now is that it has a non-linear story set in an open world that you can explore at your leisure. Though it's probably no surprise there will be no offline mode, and it won't be releasing anytime soon.
Not even Blizzard soon.
I know,
Nope.
right? For some reason, I thought it was going to be 2020 with the new consoles, but it sounds like it's not. Sounds like it's going to be like 2021 or maybe even 2022.
Yeah.
I was thinking like Diablo 3 took like 13 years to come out, so maybe in 2032 we can
Oh,
finally
stop
play
that.
Oh,
No.
come on. They've been working on it for a while.
No. Why? Why would you do that?
Didn't Diablo
No,
3 come out in like 2011? Hold on, let me
Yeah.
hear it.
I think it was
it.
probably
12, 11, somewhere on there.
12 or 13-ish.
It was May 2012. Oh, God, I forgot how much of a stacked year 2012 was. That was a really good year for games. But yeah, it was kind of a hot mess when it first came out, right? I think we all remember the problems that game
What was
had.
it?
And then it didn't
Era
get
37 or
Yeah.
something.
it didn't like get good until like the year after, when they like had put out multiple patches. But so let's say hypothetically they started working on Diablo. Did they say if they started working on it in 2015? I thought I read that somewhere.
They
just don't
scrapped what they'd been working on and then started with something new. When that was, I can't remember. 2015 could be it though, because that probably around there.
Sounds legit.
Sounds legit.
We'll look it up. We'll talk more about Diablo 4. Did you get to play Diablo 4?
I did.
Ooh, we're going to talk about it in the next segment. Okay, Overwatch 2 is in development. Woo! It's a full-on sequel, you guys, with a focus. With a focus.
Oh yeah.
Focus.
See, this is what happens when I have Brie on the show. She brings my North Dakota out. With a focus on co-op and new PvE modes, there are story missions and hero missions in which you'll be able to level up your heroes. And Overwatch 2's PvP additions, like new maps and heroes, will be coming to Overwatch 1 as well for a shared multiplayer environment. Well. What do you think, Brie? Are you super pumped?
Kinda.
Oh no! Ooh, go on.
You want to go on now? Okay. Yeah, I am excited, but I'm always excited about Overwatch things. However, their messaging, I think, was kind of a little confusing.
Okay.
Because they keep saying it's a sequel. However, everything in the first game is in this one too. And you're like, what? And everything they release for all heroes and maps that they release for 2 is also in the first one. So like, how does this work? He keeps saying sequel, but this sounds a little different. And essentially what Overwatch 2 is, at this point, unless there's more features they haven't announced, it's kind of like a story time, DLC, and a graphics upgrade. Now, I honestly think that is okay. I love Overwatch as it is. It's just I think their message is a little confusing.
I'm excited to hear about did they have anything playable there?
Yep, they did.
Okay, because I've been reading recaps of it. Not everyone, the 2 or 3 I've read, people have seemed a little less than thrilled, not as excited. Like it looks okay, the PvE content. So I'm excited to hear your hands-on impressions of that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, what if you're not going to call it a sequel? What do you? Because I understand. I pick up what you're putting down. Like a chapter?
I mean, they could call it the next installment. What's next for the franchise? They don't necessarily have to call it a full-on sequel, right?
Yeah, like going into this with the leaks that were coming out, to me it really felt like a chapter 2, less Overwatch 2.
Yeah,
that's not their messaging, but that's what it feels like.
Interesting.
Can we also just like take a brief second to give a shout out to Sabriel's amazing necklace? The dragon, the Game of Thrones.
Oh,
dragon.
I see that now.
Just for.
I'm having necklace envy right now. Oh, it's so cool.
That's cool.
This thing weighs me down too, so I'm like 2 inches shorter by the end of the day.
Can't look good and be comfortable at the same time.
It's fashion law.
That's the rule of logic.
Yeah. You know. Okay, so continuing on here, all of your skins and cosmetics you've earned in Overwatch will carry over to the sequel, so you won't lose anything jumping over to Overwatch 2. The first new hero, a Canadian named Sojourn, was announced, but we don't know what her abilities are. Game director Jeff Kaplan has also no idea when Overwatch 2 will be released. That's a false.
That's a direct quote.
False. That's a lie. You're lying to us, Jeff. You have an idea. You're working on the game. All right, continuing. World of Warcraft's next expansion is called Shadowlands. It releases next year, will take players to an alternate realm of death and decay where they must choose one of the several factions to align to fight against the Sylvanas. The trailer was positively bananas, with Sylvanas dueling Bolvar, the Lich King, before using his helmet to tear open the sky and obliterate the barrier between Azeroth and the Shadowlands. If that's confusing to you, we explain all of what it means in a separate post.
That was good.
I know most of those words from my very brief time with WoW, but did this blow up the skirt for either of you?
No. I mean, I like I've said before, I used to play WoW a lot, and then I just stopped. I kind of got tired of the grind. I got tired of the fetch quests, and also I played with Jason, who doesn't give a rat's ass about story or lore in games, and so I never really had the opportunity to like stop and take it all in.
Yeah.
And once I finally did try to hop in and learn the story and whatnot, I just couldn't get past the fetch quest, the kill 10 of this, kill 10 of that, and I didn't like how the leveling, I felt like, had been so simplified to the point where you didn't really have much control over what you did with your character in terms of like abilities and leveling. Maybe they've changed it since then, but yeah, it's interesting that they're doing this stuff with a level cap.
Do you want to read the next paragraph?
Oh, yeah, you haven't gotten there yet. Like any expansion, Shadowlands will implement sweeping changes to most of WoW's current systems and progression. We'll have a complete overview of those features soon, but some of the most noteworthy changes include a squished level cap of 60, a new endgame dungeon that's basically a self-enclosed roguelike. Oh, God. Hearthstone's this expansion. Okay, we'll just move on, I guess.
Sorry, there's supposed to be a space there.
Okay, got it. No worries. Okay, anyway, yeah. So, because they're taking the level cap down to, now the level cap is 60, but I believe if you're max level right now, they're going to take you down to 50. And then you have 10 levels to get to 60, and then at that point, you get to choose one of the 4 covenants. Is that what it was? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, like, if they make the leveling maybe more detailed and more hands-on, I don't know if they've gone to details with that yet. I might hop back in, but realistically, there's like a snowball chance of hell of this happening. But it's so cool to see it's going strong and everyone's getting all excited about Sylvanas and all that. I just don't know what's happening anymore.
It's it's weird to me that they are taking a level cap and then dropping people down and then making you redo it. Is that my understanding that correctly?
No, so at the end of the day, your level is just a number. And so they're like, this is getting ridiculous. And this looks very daunting to new players. 120 levels? I'm level 1. And so they're like, you know what? We can just squish numerically everything down. So
I see what you're saying.
50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine, like 3 expansions from now, max level of 210?
Yeah.
That would be a lot.
Well, I mean, that's kind of where Destiny's going right now, too, right? Because, I mean, when we talk to Luke Smith, he's talking about bringing in all of these MMO kind of rule sets and mechanics into Destiny. And, like, so the light level number just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing, as does your level number. So they're going to have to reset that eventually, too, I would guess.
Warcraft has even done that. They had level or item squish where our logarithmic scale is getting too high. These numbers are getting to the mega damage, thousands of things. We have to just squish this down. So you're still doing the same percent of damage. Your numbers are lower.
It's like inflation.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that.
Crazy. Okay, continuing on, Hearthstone's next expansion is Descent of Dragons, and yes, it's got a bunch more dragons in it. The surprise, Hearthstone is getting a new mode called Battlegrounds. It's inspired by the auto battle genre. It's in beta right now, and you guys can read more about it on another post on PC Gamer if you are so inclined. Other bits of notable news is that Diablo Immortal, that mobile clone that made everyone angry when it was announced last year, is still in development and actually looks pretty cool. Did you get to see the mobile game?
Yeah, they had a demo space. They didn't talk about this game at all, like in any kind of announcement or anything. No panel, nothing. But they did have a small demo area near Diablo 4, and they had some in the media area. And yeah, it just plays like Diablo 3. It's fine. It's fun. People, I think, just got angry because it wasn't Diablo 4 last year.
It looks good. I saw the update they posted, the video where it talks about some of the new features they're implementing. I'm like, this looks fun. I've always said that. It looks like a fun, I mean, it looks like Diablo, like you said, right?
Wait,
It doesn't look like it's...
Is this game out right now?
No.
No.
I don't think there's a release date yet either. Just soon.
Soon,
Aw.
soon, TM. Yeah, no, I'm down. I'm down for Diablo on my phone. I'm into it. All right, continuing on, Hong Kong protesters were seen outside the convention center, but so far haven't caused much of a stir. Blizzard's president, J. Allen Brack, started the show with a long non-apology regarding the recent controversy around the decision to ban Hearthstone Grandmaster Blitzchung. Brack said he was sorry, but that doesn't matter because Blitzchung and the 2 Taiwanese casters implicated in the incident are still banned for some reason. So that's obviously PC Gamers right up at the end there. Here's the thing. We were tweeting about this. And it was a really fascinating social experiment to watch people's reactions to his statement that he made on stage. And I still am pretty conflicted about it. Buri, I would love to hear from you about what the mood was like at BlizzCon, because I think, you know, a lot of us from the outside looking in were looking at it going, man, it's going to be such a shit show, and they're going to have all these protesters, and is it going to still be about the fans? Is it going to still be about Blizzard community? Can you tell us kind of like what the mood was like?
Yeah, a little bit of setup here first. So, walking into BlizzCon this year, you had this huge sign saying content warning for BlizzCon this year. And we're all like, what? This is new. And so that's kind of the atmosphere people are going into. Like, this is kind of interesting, whatever. And you all sit down in this big, huge auditorium. Like, there's multiple auditoriums here. You sit down and the countdown timers, it's all happy, jaunty music, like party mood. Everyone's so happy and talking. And all of a sudden, everything just goes silent.
Oh.
Like Blizzard just cut the music, cut the thing, and just basically kind of, I can't remember. Oh, they just put Brack's name on the screen. It's just silent, and he comes out, and here gives this, and everyone is just quiet. And here this is him addressing it before. He's just dropping this before everything begins. And the mood in there, everyone, I was in the Overwatch stage, and I don't want to say there was applause, a cheer. I mean, there was applause, but no, like, rousing, he did the thing, it made things better, but people were just kind of, like, appreciative that he did address it. And got that out of the way right away. But most of people's reactions were, yeah, that's what needed to be done for BlizzCon, not to start out so weird. And it did kind of temper things. I was talking to someone in the know, apparently before that moment, Brack in the back.
That rhymes.
No pun. J. Allen Brack, the president, he looked like a ghost before going out there.
I'm sure. He must have been so nervous.
Yeah, like, is this crowd going to destroy me or not? And after he got that, and after the crowd just kind of like, all right, cool, all right, he came back, and all the color had come back into him, and he could relax again.
Yeah, it's tricky. I'm with you, Andrea. I was also on Twitter, and it was fascinating. I mean, obviously, is this the apology that I think everyone had hoped to hear? You know, I think people had hoped to hear direct Blitzchung, we messed up with that, you know, those casters, we shouldn't have done that. But I don't think, like we said, that's something that would have happened during the opening ceremony. I think that was what you were talking about on Twitter. To expect that, I mean, to hope for that is one thing, but I think to legitimately expect them to come out and talk about it, I think is just a little unrealistic. Now, if they had done that, that would have been amazing. But that's obviously like, there's so many angles to approach this from. It's like, I understand why you wouldn't approach it from that way, but I also understand why you said it the way you did. But it would have been nice, of course, if you had come out and blown minds and like mention specific details and mention this is where we could have done better and this is how we plan to do better in the future. And it's, I tweeted about it. Well, what I said was it was sad to see so many people essentially saying, fuck Blizzard, fuck this, fuck Diablo, fuck Overwatch, because from my perspective, I'm looking at all the people who've worked really hard on these games and have put in countless hours and sacrificed time away from their family and whatnot to make these amazing cinematics and to make this gameplay, who had no say whatsoever in this rash decision that the Blizzard execs made. And it was interesting to see how people were so quick to just kind of like cease all praise of what we were seeing on stage. And, you know, what I said is, you know, by saying that Diablo 4 looks great and by saying that Overwatch, it's cool that Overwatch 2 has PvE and co-op and stuff in it, that's not giving the suits a pass. That's not saying we forgot. You can say that this thing looks great, but and then you don't have to buy the game. You know, you can still say it looks good. That doesn't mean you're buying the game and supporting if that's what your stance is. So it was just fascinating to see how people responded to that. Some people said, well, by you giving praise to the game, you know, you're increasing their stock prices and therefore the people at the very top are getting X amount of extra money. It was just, it's fascinating. And I feel like everyone's still just as divided as they were.
Yeah, it's interesting, the follow-up. So I also, like you, Britt, was very excited about the reveals, and I thought that they had a great showing. I thought it was very important that they made an apology. Whether or not you think that apology was up to snuff or not is obviously something that you need to have a critical thinking session on your own, and about what you wanted from that apology and what you were hoping to achieve from that apology. And I'm not here to tell you what your feelings are wrong or right. I do want to point out that my stance on Friday after the apology was, I didn't think the opening ceremony was the time or place to be focused on the apology and to giving details about it. And as I had hoped, J. Allen Brack did some follow-up interviews after the opening ceremonies to clarify. So he spoke to PC Gamer and he said, we want the official broadcasts, which are a small percentage of the overall content that gets created, to be about the games. And we want those to be focused on the games. Now, he's talking about the Hearthstone official broadcast. He says, again, it's not about the content of BlitzChung's message. It's about the fact that it was not around the games. If we hadn't taken action, if we hadn't done something, you can imagine the trail that would be in our future around doing interviews. They would become times for people to make a statement about whatever they want to on whatever issue. That's just a path that we don't want to go down. Brack also stated Blizzard wants players to express themselves on their private social media, but not through the official Blizzard channels. The company doesn't have a great track record in this regard, writes Eurogamer. However, as 3 weeks ago, an Overwatch coach said he was forced to delete his pro-BlizzChung tweet in the aftermath of the initial controversy. Referring to the two casters caught up in the controversy, Brack said that the debate over whether the casters were actively involved in BlitzChung's protest was, quote, not really something Blizzard considered. The main reason for their suspension, according to Brack, was that they failed to keep the broadcast focused on what it needs to be focused on, which is the games, the winners, and the stories coming out of there. They were not successful in their job. That's how we made our decision on that, end quote. So, two things there. One, as somebody who does this for a living, that's absolutely a fireable offense if you don't do the job hosting what the publisher who hired you wants you to do. So that's just something to consider. Second, what I heard on the grapevine was that the casters were actually in on it. And that originally when we reported on this story, I did not know, because it appeared that they were just reacting to what he said on stream. But what I've heard from people close to the situation is that they were in on it. And so it's hard for me to know, like, obviously this is complete hearsay. It's like a he said, she said thing. And I don't know, Brie, if you've heard anything around.
No, I'd heard that same exact thing.
Okay, so
kind of set it up for him.
Yeah, that makes a little more sense, because I was getting kind of, my feathers were getting a little fluffed.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? I mean, you can't control what someone says. I mean, if they, I was like, but they didn't know. But if they knew, then okay. And again, this is where it gets tricky, because I understand their point where they don't want. You have to start. You can't let stuff fly, because if you do, then, you know, what's the precedent? Are people just going to keep trying to do it on your platform? And when do you punish versus when do you not punish? Even though I think his message is right and good and should be out there, it's Blizzard's call because it's their platform. And that's why it's hard.
Yeah, it's tough because it's not it's a private company stream. Like, it's Blizzard's owned and operated stream. Blizzard's not saying he can't say what he wants about the Hong Kong protests on his own channel. They're saying we don't want it on our channel because we don't want people talking about content that's not game related, which makes sense. They're the publisher, right? So I think that the conversation about Blizzard and China and Blizzard not denouncing the decision is like, we're just going to shelve that for now because it's just too long of a conversation for us to rehash because we have a lot of other cool stuff that we want to talk about. But I thought it important to mention this because obviously, you know, Jay Allenbrack going out on stage and making this apology, I think was at least a consolation to a lot of people. And a lot of people have taken this as a, hey, like, they recognize that they messed up and they made an apology. Did they go as far as a lot of people wanted? No. You still, as a consumer, have the right to vote with your dollars. If you want to continue on with a boycott BlizzCon, that is your personal choice to do. And I hope that you can remain not toxic with your comments online, because what we saw on Friday was like some really bad discourse, was like people not actually talking about the issues and talking about, you know, Blizzard as a company full of creative developers who are making all kinds of products who had absolutely nothing to do with this decision, versus like, you know, Blizzard capital B, the company that ended up making the call that they made. So, and I think that's like where the kind of gray area is in this conversation. So.
Anyway, let's talk about Diablo for a second.
Yeah. How about we talk about Diablo? Let's do it.
Diablo 4. Okay, so obviously, I think we're all Diablo fans, correct?
Yes.
I know Andrea is, but
Yes.
Brie, okay. So yeah. So I love this game too. And so what's interesting about this is this shared open world. And so I read some interviews and some panel recaps, and this was some of the interesting information I pulled. And so this is all via the lead UI designer, Angela Del Prio. So when you are in story beats, campaign missions, and dungeons, that particular stuff will not be shared with other players, just other online players, just the people in your immediate party, up to 3 of them. So because I'm kind of worried about that, because when I think about Diablo, I think of a pretty solo experience minus, you know, playing with my husband. And I don't necessarily want to see other players like roaming around and killing things and looting things and giving me emotes. So it's good to know that the story beats and campaigns and dungeons will still be tailored to just like you and your immediate party. And when you're in a city or a hub, obviously you're going to see other players, and you can group up, challenge people to PvP, which will be a consensual affair.
Well,
that was kind of good. And then some other extra stuff that I pulled. So there won't be any items locked behind social events. So if you are someone like me who doesn't like to play with other people online much, don't worry. You don't have to do any social interaction. It's overrated. And solo players can participate in clan activities as well as donate or withdraw from a guild bank, or you can say, fuck you, I'm joining your guild, but I'm not going to interact with you, which is something I would probably do. There are mounts, which I thought was really cool. You get to like ride little horsies through all these like barren lands and whatnots. And Blizzard does want to incorporate crossplay. There's going to be hundreds of dungeons. And anyway, I'm just really excited. I mean, I love that it was rumored for a while that it was going to be a darker, more grittier Diablo, which, I mean, I thought Diablo 3 looked great, but, you know, I only played a little bit of Diablo on PC way back in the day, and then I kind of dropped off the series until Diablo 3 came to console. So I didn't understand or realize that there was such a huff puff about Diablo 3's cartoony appearance. You know?
Yeah,
I thought it looked good.
I love the Diablo 3's look, but I remember back when it was kind of announced and the graphics were coming out, like, it looks like a cartoon. And I think Blizzard even made a joke about that, making the Whimsyshire.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the best part of that game. Oh, so good. That was so fun. But anyway, I think it looks really great. I thought the cinematic obviously was up to Blizzard standards, which was just mind-blowingly amazing. It looked so
gorgeous.
It looked
gorgeous.
So gorgeous, and I loved all the gore and so good. Oh, I loved it.
Blizzard is one of the best at doing like absolutely phenomenal cinematic trailers that, you know, a lot of times, let's be honest, don't really represent the way the gameplay is going to be, but they sure look really cool.
Yeah, I rewatched World of Warcraft is having its anniversary event, and they have this little area in game where you can rewatch old cinematics. I'm like, I'm gonna watch the original one. It was made in 2004 when the game came out in 2005. That still looked pretty good. I was like, this is impressive. Like 15 years later.
Blizzard. Yeah, no,
Diablo
we're ready.
4.
Bring on Diablo 4. My thing is like, I want to play this game at launch because I really haven't ever had that launch experience with the Diablo game. I've always played it like really far after the fact, and then like nobody else is playing, and so I've played almost all of them solo. And so I'm really like looking forward to getting in on some of the PvE elements, and like I'm noping out of every PvP encounter.
Me too.
Yeah,
Like,
nope,
no
nope, don't need that.
thanks. I'm good. I'll just stay over here and kill skeletons by myself. So,
It
Perfect.
played really well. The lines were ridiculously long, but they were pretty quick.
bet.
But it played really well. If you played Diablo 3, this looks like a better graphics version of Diablo 3. And I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I mean, it's very familiar.
Yeah.
And your abilities are very familiar, and you're going to hop right in and have no problem at all.
Yes.
well, we have some gameplay questions that we're going to ask you in the next segment. But continuing on with the news,
This next
Fallout
story cracks me up.
76 aristocrats are fighting against the peasants without a subscription. So this is a really fun feature from Patricia Hernandez over at Polygon, and I brought this into the news because not only is it just a relatively slow news week so far this week, as of when we're recording the show, but because we never really got to talk about Fallout first on the show because of when it was announced. So let's go ahead and dig in, shall we? I was once one of those crawling in the dirt, says Fallout 76 player Sean Hickman. But with hard work, some greased palms, honeyed words, I'd gained my fortunes. In gaining my riches, my sense of class has risen above the common rabble. Hickman is joking, I think, kind of. He's part of a new Fallout 76 group called the Apocalyptic Aristocracy, a clan of Fallout First subscribers who came together while wearing the finest and fanciest gear the MMO has to offer. Bethesda's launch of Fallout 76 $12.99 per month subscription service Fallout First was a mess, to say the least. Private servers weren't really private, basic features were busted, and the servers themselves were buggy. The public, meanwhile, was shocked to see Bethesda charge for premium service when the basic game itself is technically glitchy and at times disappointing, and also still full price somehow. There were even reports of in-game bullying. As the game visibly denotes whether or not you're a subscriber, word got out that annoyed players were being targeted for daring to pay Bethesda extra money. Media called it a class war or a class divide. Patricia spoke to a couple dozen Fallout 76 subscribers who largely said that they didn't experience any sort of harassment for their in-game status, even with the Reddit thread originally claiming there was an issue filled with skeptics whose experiences did not quite line up with the popular narrative. Days after the reports went out, however, she spoke to a couple of players who claimed that their subscriptions caused strife. Khalifa Al-Khawari on Facebook noted that a crew of players wearing bear costumes ganged up on him after performing an emote exclusive to Fallout First subscribers, and that hostility was echoed by a couple of other fans as well. This is hilarious. I'm going to jump ahead in the story because it's kind of a long one. The Fallout 76 narrative is, why would anyone waste time playing Fallout 76 when there's something better out there? Why would people pay extra money to have a supposedly shoddy experience? But fans are paying for Fallout First all the same. After all, the service provides utility, like better storage and improved options for loot farming. But most people didn't care about that part. As far as the internet is concerned, Fallout 76 is a punching bag. The problem was that the toxicity started spiraling out of control outside the game. The situation quickly turned from players complaining about Bethesda to insults against those who paid for the subscription, says Vector Zarek, a founder of the Aristocracy. Initially, Vector Zarek tried easing the tension in various Fallout 76 groups by creating memes about the Fallout First situation. He similarly noticed that other players kept making up jokes about the supposed class war, with some subscribers pretending to give others trading discounts for high-value items while upselling peasants who aren't paying subscribers. Now, it wasn't real, but the anxiety around Fallout First fanned the flames all the same. Folks believed the shitpost because when they wanted to believe that Fallout 76 was only capable of becoming more of a convoluted mess. So rather than sulking in the shame of enjoying something that the internet has told them they should hate, some of Fallout 76's players are now embracing the villainous caricature the public made out of a whole cloth. If you guys want to read the rest of Patricia's article, because it is quite interesting, again, it's from Polygon.com. But wow, what an interesting turn of events.
You know, I really want to hop back into the shit show of Fallout 76. Like, granted, when I played it, it was right when the game was launching. So if you thought it was bad now, like, you should have played it back then. You know, you'd walk into a room, all characters would be in the T-pose. They would, like, randomly start spinning around. But I think I could have a lot of fun in this game. It just sounds like there's some weird culture that's going on in there and that people who love it, like, really love it, are really into it. And I would like to experience that for myself someday. When the hell that's going to happen, I don't know. Maybe when video games stop releasing and I have some time to kill. But I you know, when we were talking about this, I think we were talking with Todd Howard, Andrea, at E3, when we were talking about...
We were, yeah.
I remember, yeah, we were talking about Fallout 76 and private servers and the PvP and the griefing part of it. And that was kind of one of the reasons I was hesitant to hop back in. Obviously, all the bugs and the other issues were very big reasons as well. But now that there are private servers, it is a little more enticing. However, the fact that they're locked behind this $12.99 a month or $100 a year thing, I don't know. I just don't know. But I would like to hop back in at some point in my life. Maybe when this game goes like free to play, if that ever happens. What?
Yeah, it's been interesting watching it from the sidelines because I don't have any desire, unlike you, to go back to Fallout 76, especially now that I have the Outer Worlds, and I would much prefer that. I never liked the idea of other people in the world. I think that the way that they implemented a lot of things to me was inherently anti-Fallout, but I appreciate that people like it, and I'm not getting down on you if you do. Hey, it's your money. Spend it how you want. The thing that was really a head scratcher for me when Bethesda originally made the Fallout first announcement was the cost. I'm like, $12.99 a month is just not a good value. I think what they were offering is fine, and it's even fine to charge for it if that's what your audience, you know, wants and if they're willing to pay for it. But that price to me was way too high. For me, a premium subscription for a game like this that isn't free to play to me feels more in line with like a $2.99 a month or maybe a $4.99 a month. I mean, but $12.99, like, to me, if you're going to be spending that money, I mean, you might as well just get Xbox Game Pass or PlayStation Now instead if you're a console player. There's just so many other options for you to get more value out of that $10 unless Fallout 76 is literally the only game you ever play. Or, as it is with the aristocracy here in Patricia's article, maybe you just don't care and you want to save time. She interviewed another member of this aristocracy who said, "Listen, I've got kids and a job, and I just don't have time to grind for all of the things that the membership gives me as part of my paid subscription." And I was like, that's a perfectly legitimate answer. And if that's how you want to spend your money, that's your choice. It's your money. Go on with your bad self. But I think
can't get on people because I spent how much in Pokemon Go? I mean, hey.
Yeah. I think that the real rub here is that there was a lot of things broken with the game. There are still a lot of things broken with the game. The subscription broke even more things with the game, and it included the private servers, which people have been begging for since the beginning. And I think if they had taken that private server access out of the subscription and just said, we're going to give you in-game currency, we're going to give you custom emotes and custom skins and all of that stuff that's standard for a subscription, that I think the people who are rioting against the Fallout First members probably wouldn't be as angry.
What do you think, Brie?
Well, let's see. This is where I say something embarrassing. The Fallout series has never really clicked for me.
Me either, girl.
That's not embarrassing.
No, same here.
I feel like everybody else in the world loves it. And I'm like, I don't get it. I've tried. And Fallout 76, like, I have a few friends who adore it and love it. And I'm just like, I just don't want to jump in. I just don't. But
you don't have
this
to.
whole... Yeah, it's true. And I don't. I'm not going to. Like, I don't feel bad about that. Just like, I feel like I'm missing something. That I'm just not getting.
I've also never finished a Fallout game before, so it's not you. I've also tried. It's just not my cup of tea, the setting and all that, which is interesting because kind of interesting because I never played Fallout New Vegas. Maybe I would like that one since it's Obsidian developed that one.
I heard that too, and I still couldn't.
I need to try it now that I finished the Outer Worlds and fell in love with it. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, we're saying if you like spending your money on this and this is how you like to do it, like you go on through bad self, it's not you that we're like, oh my God, it's the business practice of launching a broken game with a price point and now asking for $12.99 a month on top of that for features that probably should have just been included with the game from the get-go.
Yeah, they just don't feel worth that much. I totally agree.
Yeah.
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 Interesting update. We'll, of course, keep an eye on what happens with Fallout 76 as the months go by. Brittany,
Yeah.
you pulled these next couple of stories. Would you like to do the honors?
I would love to. So we generally don't cover, crowd-funded games, but this one's very relevant to our interests, so I thought it would be appropriate. So, ex-BioWare Obsidian Devs Chorus. Oh, ex-BioWare and Obsidian Devs Chorus, that's the name of the game. An adventure musical has reached its fundraising goal. With now just 3 days left to go, Chorus, an adventure musical, has managed to surpass its fundraising target, which ends Sunday the 10th. In case you missed it, Chorus is a character-driven musical game by new Australian dev team Summerfall Studios. It's spearheaded by ex-Obsidian and BioWare developers Liam Esler and David Gator, and will feature the voice talents of Laura Bailey and Troy Baker, as well as music by Austin Wintory. I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry. Currently, 5,039 backers have pledged over 621,000 on the Fig co-site, and any more pledges will go towards stretch goals to make the game even bigger. The first of these unlocks at 650,000, adding 2 new romances to Chorus, bringing the game up to 4 romance options. Anyone familiar with Gator's work on Dragon Age will probably have some idea of how these will tie in with the game. If not, there's a handy update on the fundraising site explaining it in more detail. Other stretch goals include extra songs, special live streams, and a making of documentary. If it hits 900,000, Chorus will be fully voiced. Chorus will be a PC-only release at first, with the potential to come to other platforms. And now it's fully funded. Now that it's fully funded, it's estimated to launch in late 2021.
So this sounds amazing. I'm glad you pulled this. I had not heard of this. So the kind of blurb on Eurogamer says, inspired by games like Dream Daddy and Life is Strange, as well as musicals like Wicked and Hadestown, Chorus will see the player assume the role of Grace, a singer trying to prove her innocence after a magical muse dies on her doorstep, giving her powers and thrusting her into the world of mythological beings. That, of course, is played by Laura Bailey. So sign me up. I want this thing.
Right? So if you're not familiar with these people, so David Gator was the lead writer on Dragon Age Origins. He created basically the world of Thedas. He wrote Zevron, Alistair, I have the note, Kaylin, Morgan, Shale, Duncan, Cassandra, Fenris, Meredith, and he wrote the Dragon Age novels Asunder, The Stolen Throne, and The Calling. All 3 I've read. All 3 are incredible. He's a very, very, very talented human. And then Liam Esler worked at Beamdog, Obsidian, and on Pillars of Eternity as well. So,
voice direction by Troy Baker? Dang.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was getting into directing. That's really cool.
And so this is kind of fun. I also pulled the blurb that you read, but I don't need to, read that now. But featuring a cast of rich and this is from the fundraising page. Featuring a cast of rich and compelling characters, Chorus is a thrilling tale of gods, romance, danger, and tragedy, all brought to life through the power of song. Assuming the role of the muse, Grace relies on her ability to draw others into song. When someone is caught up in the melody, they may change their mind, confess to a crime, or even fall in love. It's up to you and the direction you decide to take. So, yeah, if you can check out some gameplay, like, it looks really... I don't even like musicals. I'll be the first to admit it. But looking at this, I'm like, oh, yeah, I can get into this. This looks really unique, and I am down for it.
I'm super tempted. I do like Fig as a platform, too. It's really interesting kind of looking at the differences between the crowdfunding platforms that are out there for games. And Fig tends to be one that's more popular with video game developers specifically. Because of the way that they structure the payments. So yeah, I guess if you guys are interested in checking this out, you can find it on fig.co. Chorus, an adventure musical.
Looks real good. And then we'll move on to Super Smash Brothers. Some funny stuff happened today. So Super Smash Bros. Ultimate latest fighter, Terry, goes live today. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's latest DLC fighter goes live today. SNK's Terry Bogard arrives with a unique stage with special ring-out rules and a host of guest characters, though not Mai Shiranui. I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry. Shiranui. Because as director Masahiro Sakurai put it in today's stream, quote, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is for good boys and girls of many different ages. So did you ladies hear about this?
Yes.
Okay.
No, not that. No, I just saw an adorable picture of Kirby.
Tell her.
Okay, so I myself had never heard of. The reason I think you say her name as Mai, because there's a slogan going around for another game that she was supposed to be in, and it was no Bye, or maybe it's May. So that's where I'm getting like the Mai versus May from. Anywho, so seeing this morning, I was like, all right, I haven't touched Smash in a minute, but I'm going to Google this character to see, like, what's the big deal? Like, why is she not appropriate for good boys and girls of many different ages? And if you Google her, I mean, she's just wearing, like, a real skimpy outfit. So, essentially, she's wearing, like, a really, really low cut, like, from the waist up. It's just, like, a low V. And then the rest of the shirt disappears behind, like, a waist cinch. And then it just turns into, like, a really long loincloth. And then on the back, I think she's wearing a thong, but I'm not sure. Anyway,
like
very
cami style.
No, it's like I would say more G-string. It's like very like non-existent. So yeah, like, and if you look at some of her physics in the game, like I was looking into her, I became fascinated with her. She's definitely the second most popular character of the series. The number one, I guess, is obviously Terry. And she back in the day, like maybe mid 2000s, even later and a little earlier, she was constantly voted like sexiest video game character, best video game babe. If you go on the Wikipedia of this girl, it's pretty fascinating to see the kind of awards that people were giving out back then. I mean, we all remember, we were around then. So she's like highly regarded, very, very popular, but I just had never heard of her. So I guess she's a little too, anyway, like I was saying, her physics when she's like standing there, like her boobs are just like bouncing everywhere. And there's like most jiggly character, like just, they're everywhere. And it's, I think it's really fun, but that's just me.
That's Japan fighting game, right? So sorry, Brie, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, if anyone watches the stream or the video of this, you could see the exact moments that I looked up the image search of May. I was like, my eyes are just bugging. Like, oh,
yeah.
Like, I have seen this character now, but
yeah,
goodness.
On Forbes' article, they say that she's known for her barely there kimono and fighting style, which makes her constantly bend towards the camera, and has been a cover girl for King of Fighters and SNK in general for years. Though in 2019, she may seem a bit less. Now, he says, I'm really trying not to say PC, but it's kind of true. It seems that the idea is that May couldn't just appear in Smash without it going against Nintendo's family-friendly vision for the franchise. And if she was put in a different, less revealing outfit, I'm guessing that would have agitated fans as well. So she's just not there at all, which is obviously the right call. But if I was Sakurai, I just don't say anything about her. Like, I don't mention her, but
I don't think he could get away with that because she is so popular. I think, but it's interesting because obviously she is like a walking, talking sex symbol. I don't know if she talks, actually. I've never heard her speak before. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. But yeah, it's funny because there's a lot of pretty great memes out there right now of people just kind of reacting to this. And one of them is quoting Sakurai saying, Smash is good for good boys and girls of many different ages, and then it shows Bayonetta's like victory pose where she's like she's like on her, you know what I mean, she's like on her stomach and her like ass is up and her ass is like going up and down, and it's like, oh really? I mean, obviously, like, she does like splits and other things, but it could just be like you said, the fact that her outfit is what it is, and to change that, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Anyway, it's
literally
really cute.
You really are.
And then on that note of Smash, it is officially the best-selling fighting game ever. So this is via IGN. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for Nintendo Switch has sold over 15.7 million copies, officially passing Street Fighter II's 15.5 to become the best-selling fighting game of all time. Wow. As reported by Digital Trends, Nintendo revealed that Smash Bros. Ultimate sold this impressive number in its half-year financial report ending September 30th, 2019. So go Smash. Can't say I'm surprised.
Smash! Mm-hmm.
Oh, look how happy you are, Andrea, for Smash. You gotta work on that, girl.
Listen, I'm happy that they did a thing. Smash has been a high point in many gamers' lives, and I'm happy for them that they have a thing that they enjoy and they love. Good for you guys.
YouTube.com/what'sgoodgames. Look at the shit-eating grin on her face right now.
Listen, I legitimately, I have nothing against Smash. I just have no interest in Smash whatsoever.
I know.
And,
I just appreciate
you appreciate my smiling?
Your positive attitude and
Thanks.
your smiling.
I'm trying, Britt. Listen, my former colleagues at Kinda Funny Games tried many, many times to get me to play Smash with them, and I was like, no, I will not play Smash with you. I do not play Smash. Smash is a game that you need to be good at to be competitive, and we all know how much of a terrible, terrible loser I am. So
yeah.
So I mean, Britt, you know firsthand. So
yeah.
I just have never played, and I just don't have a desire to play, and that's okay. Some people don't have a desire to play things that I love, like Lego Tower, and I'm okay with that. They've never experienced Lego Tower. but like, if you wanted to play a really nice mobile game, you could try like Child.
You spoke your piece and you spoke it well. All right.
Thanks.
So the final thing I want to talk about is this is kind of this was a roller coaster. I want to grunt and cry and smile about it. Okay. So on November 3rd, now granted, for some, last week we talked about Dragon Age 4 and how during EA's earning call, they said basically like this bad boy is not coming probably until after April of 2022. So even knowing that, I can't help myself sometimes. But on November 3rd, BioWare tweeted the following. Today marks 10 years of Dragon Age. This year, we're excited to join the community's party day on December 4th and celebrate a decade together in the world we all love. See you on 12/4 for Dragon Age Day. Now, the thing is, age in Dragon Age, the A is a 4. So it's Dragon 4 GE Day. So I lose myself because I kind of lose all logic when it comes to this. I'm like, oh my God, Game Awards are coming up. Last year we got a little tease of Eggman doing his shit during the tease at the Game Awards. I'm thinking maybe we'll get something. So I started looking into this. And basically the 4 is just a reference to the date 12/4. So no, like there's probably not, there might be like a little nugget of info, but chances are we're really not going to get anything.
What I think we might get, Britt, if we look at the story that we talked about from last week about EA's earnings call and everything they discussed, maybe it's remaster time. Maybe it's collection time, because N7 Day is happening this week, and I'm hoping by the time the podcast comes out that they've announced some kind of Mass Effect collection. But I'm not holding my breath, right? But they very specifically said in that call that they wanted to focus on doing more remasters. So we can dream.
Give it to me. So I started looking into this Dragon Age Day, and so I found a whole article about it, and it's like a whole thing. So I pulled this via Games Radar. On this Dragon Day's website, which is dragon4geday.com, you can currently put in your submissions to tell the developers behind the series how much the games mean to you. Share your writing, art, memes, and help us to salute the talented BioWare and Dragon Age artists, technicians, and teams who gave us the world of Thetis. Also, Dragon Age Day is supporting our friends at Able Gamers, with proceeds raised by events during the celebration going directly to the charity. Last year, fans raised over $7,000 for the charity Child's Play. So they're doing like this whole thing. It's basically, like you said, like their version of N7 Day. And on the day, they're going to have writing, art, and meme celebrations, writing prompts and challenges, art prompts and challenges, Twitch live streams, Dragon Age fan videos, Dragon Age fanfics, and memorabilia auctions and giveaways, again, with proceeds going toward Able Gamers. So I just thought that was really cool. I had no idea this was even a thing. My jumping to conclusions about getting new Dragon Age information led to the discovery of this cool thing going toward a cool cause. And I just wanted to share it.
That's fantastic. That's cool. We love the folks over at Able Gamers. I've been on their media advisory board for a little while now, and I'm happy to hear that they're working with the team at BioWare for this special event. So that's cool. Also, I thought we have to get Steimer in her Cullen shirt doing something.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
Oh,
and just to confirm, I don't think this is like I think, like you said, they are working with BioWare in the tweet. I just want to make it very clear that this is definitely not like an officially BioWare thrown event. It's just kind of a fan thing that I think BioWare is going to like hop on the train for and be like, hey.
Kind of like how Bungie hopped on the train for Guardian Con.
There you go.
Interesting.
And then finally, Layers of Fear is coming to VR.
Wait, I wanted to hear more to say. I wanted to hear if Bree is as much into Mass Effect and Dragon Age as we
Bree.
So you know what I said about Fallout?
No, same thing.
Bree, no, really?
No, actually, I have had bad experiences with both Mass Effect and Dragon Age that kept me from continuing on.
Oh no! What?
Dragon Age 1, I had a save file corrupt on me. This is back when the game came out. And I'm like, oh. And then I tried playing it again, and the game started crashing out in the same area. And so I never went back. And then Mass Effect. But people keep I have 2 and 3. I think because they were super cheap, and people say, "Go ahead, you could." It's okay. Go ahead.
If people tell you to skip Dragon Age Origins.
Hold on.
Are you talking about Mass Effect or Dragon Age?
Actually, I did confuse the two, but I do have 2 for cheap. I need to just go. However, I just had the game crash on me so many times with 1 that I like. It's not that I didn't like what I was experiencing; it's that it just kept fighting me.
Okay, so
Mass Effect or Dragon Age?
This is Dragon Age.
Okay. So to be clear.
So Mass Effect.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
Mass Effect is the one I have all three, but I'm like, years later, I'm like, okay, I want to see what all the hubbub is about. I'm going to get into Mass Effect 1. And I was playing it, and I got lost on, there's some capital city you get onto earlier. I don't remember what it's called now. Maybe it's called Capital. I don't know. And I got lost and confused where I was going, and I was like, I'm done with this. I'm done. And I tried. I was going around. I just kept getting lost. The map was not helpful for me. I was playing on the old versions. I think they made some HD versions later.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
On Xbox.
Okay, so people kept saying, you can skip the 2 on this one. And that's okay. You didn't miss much.
Mass Effect 2 is one of my top 3 favorite games of all time, Brie. Whoever told you can skip it is an idiot.
No. Skip 2. Not skip 1 and jump straight to 2.
I'm still flustered. I'm so flustered with this conversation.
I'm still slightly flustered because Dragon Age Origins is like one of my top games of all time, and whoever told you can skip Dragon Age Origins was on something.
I misspoke earlier when I said skip the Dragon Age. It was skip Mass Effect 1.
Okay. Now I can calm down. Andrea, you still.
I'm still flustered. Here's the thing: if you're gonna skip a Mass Effect, don't skip a Mass Effect. Don't skip any of them. They're all really good. That's just my final answer. But what you need is the remasters. I think what we all need, what we all want, what we've been waiting for is the collection 1, 2, 3 collection to be like be up-res, to get like a fresh coat of paint. I don't need the Resident Evil 2 and Final Fantasy 7 treatment of these games. I mean, I would take it, don't get me wrong, but I don't need that. I just want to play it, and I know that like they're backwards compatible and that I can play them on my Xbox One. I even like have Mass Effect 3 installed, but I mean, you know, they've held up pretty well, but they could do with like a few tweaks under the hood. I would love a collection. I would love to spend money on a really fancy collector's edition of this collection with a bunch of cool N7 stuff. That's what I want.
That's what I really want too. And then you think about it. When the hell would we have time to even play it?
We wouldn't, but I would find time because you find time to play like old like Harvest Moon. You play old Secret of Mana.
It's been so long, Andrea. It's been so long. I don't know what that life is like anymore.
It's because we're knee deep in too many good games that are out now. Which we're going to talk about in just a minute, but you have one last tidbit before we go to our first break.
I think you should read this one.
Okay, I will because I love you. Layers of Fear is coming to virtual reality on Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive, and Andrea Renee and Christine Steimer are very, very excited to play it. That's an interesting headline. Listen, you know Steimer's not going to do it. She's already said very explicitly that she doesn't want to do it.
She hates scary stuff. She hates stuff on her face. I know she's out, but I still have to throw her here. I know my best chance is with you.
Yes.
And I get it.
I also don't enjoy scary games, but I will do it for science with you.
Okay.
I will do it. I'm making the commitment right now that we will do it. We've got a rift. We've got a rift here. We can put the green screen up at the studio. We can make something happen. When is it coming out?
Very soon. That's all they have.
Soon.
No date. Yeah.
Well,
I would ask you, Brie, but I know you don't like scary games. So
plus, I've been in the black hole of BlizzCon in Anaheim for a week, so I have no idea what's going on.
On that note, we are excited to ask you some questions about the demos that you played at BlizzCon. Plus, finally, Brittany and I can talk about our time with Death Stranding. You guys know you want to hear it. Stick with us, everybody. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back, everybody. It's segment 2 of the What's Good Games podcast, and this is where we talk about what we've been playing. And this week, it's brought to you by ID Tech. If your child has an okay tech learning experience, it might feel more like homework. But if they have the best experience doing something they're passionate about, it could light a fire in them for the rest of their life. That's the gift ID Tech can give them. Whether they're interested in coding, video game development, robotics, or video production, ID Tech can guide your child from a casual explorer to a college-bound pro. Their rockstar instructors transform a love of apps and video games, yes, like Fortnite, into a foundation for collage? For college, that's the word, internships and dream careers at companies like Google and Disney. They've got a bunch of options, including courses for games like Minecraft and Roblox. So here's the thing, ID Tech are a set of these really cool camps for kids. And when I started looking into the courses that they offer, I got super jealous that I didn't have any of these when I was a kid. I went to camp, but it was like, here, kids, sit in the woods, and maybe if it's not raining, you can take the kayaks out.
This is really cool. I can't tell you how many times I'm getting my nails done or my hair done, and I'm talking to the people doing it. I tell them what I do, and a lot of times they get the response, my kid would love to do that. How do they do that? It's like, well... but this sounds like a great resource.
Yeah.
So
here's a way that they can do what Britt does. Kids can have a blast exploring their interests and build the STEM skills employers are desperate for. So a little bit more about ID Tech, that they were founded in Silicon Valley, and now they have programs at 150 prestigious campuses all around the world, from Caltech and NYU to Cambridge and even the University of Hong Kong. Chances are that you can find a location within driving distance. Now, it's no surprise that when I looked up some of their locations, that there's a ton of options here in Los Angeles. We're one of the largest major metropolitan areas in the country. But even out by Britt in Washington, there's options in Tacoma, in Bellevue, in Seattle. And I looked up for our hometown folks, Bree and Fargo, and there's an option in St. Paul, which is not too far of a drive from North Dakota, which is fantastic. So they really do have a ton of locations around the world and in the United States in particular. And of course, there are courses for all skill levels. Beginners are welcome, and advanced students have a place to be challenged and grow. So when you invest in your child today, tomorrow takes care of itself. So nurture their interest now and get help from ID Tech. If you guys are interested in exploring all of the courses that ID Tech has to offer because your kid just won't stop talking about how they want to code, you can go to idtech.com/whatsgood to reserve your child's spot and receive $75 off. Now, this is a great gift for the holidays. You guys know that you're already thinking about holiday shopping, so maybe now is the time to go to idtech.com/whatsgood to see what kind of courses you want to reserve for your child to get that $75 off. idtech.com/whatsgood. And also, just a little side note, they do have female only classes, which I thought was a really nice touch because, let's be honest, being an 11-year-old girl is hard. It's not a fun place, and sometimes you just need to have the camaraderie of all girls, because boys can be mean at that age. Well, really at any age, but mostly at that age. So if that's something you're worried about, they do offer all female options.
All 11-year-olds can just be little shits.
Yeah.
Hey.
In general, you're correct. 11 years old is just a tough time of life. All right, let's talk about what we've been playing, and we've decided that we want to start with Bree's impressions from her hands-on time at BlizzCon.
Yes.
So where do you want to begin, Miss Sabriel?
Gosh, we could just go with gosh.
Diablo.
Oh gosh.
Diablo.
Let it come out, girl.
Diablo.
Let the Fargo fly.
Oh, geez,
Oh gosh. Oh jeez. Oh Fiargo.
I heard Diablo 4. Let's do Diablo 4.
Yes.
Okay.
Tell me
So what did you
everything.
play? Tell us about the demo.
So the demo was roughly 10 minutes long. I didn't time
10
it,
minutes?
but
Dang.
yeah,
that's
maybe
short.
15. I didn't look at the watch, to be honest.
Okay.
I was so engrossed in it that time went by at no time at all. So maybe it was like 3 hours, I guess. But yeah, you get in there, your character select screen, you get to choose. At this point, you can choose Barbarian, Sorcerer, and Druid. I first went for Sorcerer because I play Barbarian at home all the time. I'm gonna try something different, and it kind of struck me right away. You get different. I hear the Barbarian got different genders and racial options. Sorcerer, she got just two different races to play, and the Druid, I'm drawing a blank to be honest here. But you're hopped in, you get kind of some cinematics of your hero breaking out of a tomb, and you're just kind of launched into the action, and it felt really good. I mentioned earlier, if you played Diablo 3, this is going to feel natural just to jump into. I know they didn't have any of the a stat progression or skill trees unlocked or anything like that for the demo. They just kind of throw you in, but it felt very much like Diablo 3, and I mean that in a really good way. I love Diablo 3. Why fix a broken or something that's not broken?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, we talked last time about how you don't need to reinvent the wheel as long as the wheel that you are sticking with is nice and polished. And Blizzard is one of the best at really sticking to their formulas for their games. So I'm glad to hear that they're not like radically changing it. But what did you think about did you guys get to do co-op at all, or were you playing solo?
No, what I did, I just jumped in my own. But while I was running around the world, I was kind of shocked. All of a sudden people were starting to run around. Oh yeah, that's right. We have this new ever-present everyone are running around. And so as I was on my way to the destination, you know, I'm killing things and other people are here killing things with me. And naturally, you know, that you have that Diablo inclination. Like there's loot, I have to grab it. And I'm like, wait a minute, I only have a few minutes here. I don't need to go around and get every little thing.
I know it's a terrible problem in demos.
It's like this, I can't say this. But anyway, yeah, so I see my marker way up here on the map and a bunch of other people are going that way. Yeah, let's just kick the crap out of things on the way there. Oh, you're going that way? Okay, see ya, I'm going this way. And it felt weird coming from Diablo 3 that just people were jumping into my game and leaving, but not necessarily bad weird. It was just a new experience.
Do you play Destiny at all? Have you played Destiny at all?
Yeah, I have. I played both.
Does it feel kind of like that? Where like you're out in the world and like people are coming and going, doing their own things, but you can stop and have these moments where we're all fighting the same thing together, but then like you go about your business, they go about their business?
That is absolutely like the perfect comparison for what this felt like. I think I had a little event and we all kind of jumped in there, but I think just for loot, but gold, but yeah, no, that's perfect. I hadn't thought of putting it that way.
So the loot, what is the loot stream going to look like? Did they talk about that at all?
I didn't catch what they did there, honestly, because my focus was Overwatch, and there's a lot. One of the best things about BlizzCon tweets. One of the best. Wow, that sentence got hard. One of the best tweets.
No, English is hard language. Trust me. Like,
yeah,
I struggle all the time. The struggle bus is real.
One of the best tweets about BlizzCon was that, all right, now I have to go check up on what happened at BlizzCon because I was too busy at BlizzCon enjoying BlizzCon.
So you did it right, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so I had to go back on websites and see what was going on here, but I don't remember all the loot stuff. In the demo, they just pumped it full of legendaries and whatnot, just to feel good.
Yeah. So when you're running around the world, could you stray off the beaten path and look for dungeons or anything, or was it a pretty linear path you had to follow to get to your destination?
In the demo, I feel like it was more linear. Maybe that's just because I've been used to Diablo 3, where it's like you got a quest, go here.
Yeah.
I did explore a little bit and follow some of the people who were going around, but that didn't lead me into any new quests, and I don't know if that was my failing, or the demo was just limited. They were trying to force something to work just so people can play it.
Yeah, they did say it was a very early demo during the presentation. But still, that's awesome you got to play it. God, I'm jealous. So jealous. So what kind of skills did you have?
For the sorcerer, the one I played the most sorceress. Like I got called away when I was playing the other one, so I couldn't give you as much of a run through them. Sorceress, they gave me this. My favorite ability was you turn into this little spark. Ooh. And you click on an enemy, you just charge right through them, kill them. Push it again. It lasts for like 5-10 seconds. So every time you go through someone, bam, 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 bam.
Like a fiery pinball.
Awesome. Yeah. This feels awesome.
Oh, I'm so all about that sorceress life. Like I went necromancer on my last playthrough of Diablo 3, and I just like love the magic abilities. I love playing mages in games, and when they showed the sorceress, I was like, yep, that's gonna be me.
Oh man,
Totally
no, I'm all about
powerful.
That barbarian life. Or whatever. Just give me the big, tanky, beefy, heavy boys, and that's what I want to be. I love the abilities of like the sorcerer and whatnot, but yeah, I just like to smack shit. You know?
So you're gonna go? Are you gonna go barbarian or are you gonna go druid?
Barbarian, I think.
The druid felt pretty smashy too.
Really? See that? I don't know yet. I don't know. My first barbarian. This is embarrassing, but it's fine. It was a different time. My first barbarian, I named her Butt Sex. I'm not even joking. And
that sounds like Britt.
Yeah. And she was a beefy girl, and I loved her very much. So I feel like because just to keep the legacy of butt sex alive, I have to keep the barbarian class. But
Oh my gosh.
Keep the
legacy of butt sex alive.
it's true. I have pictures of her. I'll share them. So
You've
you
got
can see
pictures
them.
of butt sex, Britt.
Yeah.
Wow, Britt.
I'm learning new things about you every day.
Listen, Andrea, we gotta amp up our Patreon money. It's just a thing.
New tier, pictures of butt sex. Dang. That would maybe bring in some people. Maybe not the people we want coming to the Patreon page, but you know,
beggars can't be choosers.
Get their money while you can.
It's true. Okay, cool. Well, we all knew that we were gonna love Diablo 4. So you, though, are the Overwatch expert. Tell us about Overwatch 2.
So now I can't remember if we talked about it before we started recording it. After was it during? Okay, yeah. So Overwatch 2, they're up here. This is a sequel to Overwatch 1, and we're all like, cool. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then they're like, everything that's in 2 or everything that's in 1 is in 2. Most things that are in 2 are in 1. We're like, cool. Sounds cool. All right. Kind of confusing. But Overwatch 2 is a graphics upgrade and to an already beautiful game. And it also is adding PvE content, which is something people adore when the PvE events happen in Overwatch 1. But also they're bringing every PvP aspect also to 2. So much so, in fact, that you're sharing the same player base and all the same heroes and all the same maps.
So the new mode Push is also in Overwatch 1 and 2.
Yep.
Right? Okay, got it.
Push is a really cool game mode. I was confused as all heck when people were trying to explain it to me. And I may get confusing here too, but the best analogy I had was kind of like football. So in turnovers here, I'll get there. The concept of Push is there's a payload in the center, and it's so heavy you need a robot to help you push it to your goal. And to get it to move, if you played Overwatch, you stand on the payload, it'll move. And so the robot, if he's on your team, he's pushing this object closer and closer and closer to the enemy spawn point. And you'd never lose progress on that, but you can lose the robot. If you get killed, the enemy team takes over the robot, and it starts running back the other way towards their wall to push. You share the robot, but not the objective.
Interesting.
Okay.
And so, and then by the end, whichever team gets all the way there, or whichever team, if no one does, gets their robot to push it the furthest. Push.
Okay. That's interesting. I read it was more about flanking more than holding control points. Did you feel that?
Yeah, totally. I was playing some very flanky heroes, and I've never felt so good. That's
awesome. So do you typically play flank?
Around.
Okay, so that's my question. Right. So do you typically play flanking heroes, or does this mode force you to play heroes that you might normally play in other modes?
I think actually the second one. I tend to play Ana is a healer. It's my favorite hero. I can play all of them, but she's my favorite. And she's very much I don't want to move too much from my cover. She's going to be a pain in the butt to play this one until I get used to it. But yeah, you're going to see a lot more of like Tracer, Genji, Wrecking Ball, and these kind of maps, at least for a while, until people can figure out how to make their playstyles work for it.
Interesting. What do you think about the new hero that they announced? The Canadian.
Okay. This is this might be a very loaded question here, actually. Sojourn is a hero that we've known is coming for a long time. So actually, she's not new if you follow Overwatch follow Overwatch closely. But the fact that when she's coming out is more information. But again, we don't know anything about her, other than we know she's Canadian and coming out in Overwatch 2. That's all we really know about her. When she comes out, she will be one of the first Black women. You get story characters who are, but not playable. And
that's right.
That's been some points of contention, and there's some articles going around which I think honestly kind of misconstrued something Kaplan said. I don't know if you want to go into it now. Or
are you talking about the Kotaku article?
Yeah.
From Nathan Grayson. Okay, yeah, I read that. Obviously, as someone who doesn't really know a lot about Overwatch, it sounded like the reason, I can't remember who he was chatting with, but that it was given was because she's a very integral character to the story of Overwatch, and it doesn't make sense to introduce her until they're ready. Is that kind of what it was?
That's kind of the selling point of the article.
Okay.
I'm being there. I wasn't there for their interview, but being there, I got the sense more like we weren't waiting for Overwatch 2 to release another black character. We were waiting. Once we got this idea for Sojourn, we came up with a perfect spot to put her into. Not that because she's black, but because we found a perfect spot in the story that we've been building to put her there. Now they admit that they really screwed up in releasing the diverse cast that they keep touting they do. And what he meant in the article, he mentions we don't want to have a checklist of racial
diversity.
Diversity, yeah. And so that's what I understand that. I think I can understand that feeling. They don't want someone just to push out just for that. But they acknowledge that they screwed up. And then it's not the fact that Sojourn, race is why she's in 2. It's just they're like, we're coming up with the story. It kind of fits this perfect spot. That's why she's coming out when 2 comes out.
Yeah, it's been interesting looking at Blizzard's past with Overwatch because they have frequently been touted as a game that highlights a diverse cast of characters, and they are applauded by their community for the diversity in their cast of characters as well. But I guess it does kind of sometimes feel a little bit like a trap to say, oh, well, do we have to specifically make this character to represent this one audience, knowing that we now have this reputation? And it's an interesting topic that several people have done panels on at PAXs over the last couple of years, talking about diversity and how do you incorporate diversity without making it feel like it's forced diversity. And the challenges that come around with, well, if somebody's not leading the charge on diversity, then diversity just doesn't happen. And we've seen that happen in video games for decades, right? And we've even talked about that with our show and about the fact that we are all women on the show and what that means for us to represent that voice. And, you know, do we sometimes fill that token role, and how does that make us feel, and what that means for the industry? It's a very fascinating topic at large. So I'm glad that he spoke about it, and I'm glad that they're making her. But I also think that Blizzard needs to make sure that she feels right, because I think the last thing anybody wants is to see a character of color shoehorned in for the sake of diversity, because I don't think it serves the community, and I don't think it serves the game.
Absolutely.
Cool. So overall, though, thumbs up? You're excited?
Yeah, I do. It's kind of funny. Playing Overwatch 2, you can kind of feel how Overwatch 1 starts feeling a little dated in there.
Oh, really?
Just graphics. It's very subtle. It's very subtle, but you can kind of feel it. And I can't wait for that to come out. Like, it's more of the same. Actually, it's like every game I played at BlizzCon, I feel like it's more of the same. That's not necessarily a bad thing. They're doing the good stuff with that.
So what did you think about PvE? Did you get to do any of the missions?
Yeah, they had a demo mission. You are basically when Overwatch meets Lucio, one of my favorite characters as well.
I don't know who that is, but that's
Lucio,
cool.
He's a guy who shoots or kills things and heals things with music.
Yeah, he's got the rollerblades.
Yeah. And Omnics are fighting or attacking Rio de Janeiro, and Overwatch here has helped to save the day. And that's where Tracer, May, and Reinhardt meet Lucio. And you fight through the streets, and the developers kept saying, like, this game is we can do so much more with this game engine. And during Q&A, I asked, like, is this something that we're going to see as players, or is this something just cool for you developers that you just are very happy to talk about? And he's like, no. We can get more AI units than we can in the base game. So we can do story mode, and we can do bigger maps, so we can do story mode. And so it sounds like they've kind of like rebuilt the game, learning or taking things they've learned from the last 3-4 years to make things better. But the PvE was a lot of fun. If you played the Archives events, it's basically more of that, expanded version of that.
Okay. That's what I read too, because I was reading about it, because I I'm not, I don't like to play with people online. Spoilers, like no one knew that. But the reason I would be interested in Overwatch 2 is because, I do find the story, well, mostly the characters, I find them very fascinating. And if this is a good opportunity for me to hop in and kind of learn more about them, I'm all in. So I was reading about it, and what I read was kind of what you said. It was fun, it was a good time, but it felt a little shallow. Now, do you think that's because we're still so far off?
No, I asked Jeff about this too, because even in the archives events, when they happen in regular Overwatch, they're 3-week events, and by the end, feel people are kind of like, okay, yeah, doing the motions again. And I asked him, like, what are you going to do about the replayability? And he said, yeah, basically kind of admitted the story mode itself is kind of going to be that way for you. If you're getting bored, amp up the difficulty. But otherwise, the hero mode is where the action's going to be at. Hero mode is basically a story mode, but with progression. You can change hero abilities, you can level up, and whatnot. So that's where the main focus of Overwatch 2's PvE content is going to be.
That makes sense.
To me, yeah, it feels more like adventure mode. They kept saying adventure mode in Diablo is a comparison, where you can keep doing missions and get loots and bounties and whatnot.
Okay.
To me, it felt like more like Destiny, where you can keep redoing missions.
Yeah, I mean that's Destiny in a nutshell. Just do everything over and over and over and over again, and then do it, and then do it again.
Yeah, that's what this felt like to me. That's what this felt like.
That's really fascinating. I wonder if they worked with Bungie. I have to imagine when Bungie was still with Blizzard, or excuse me, with Activision Blizzard, that maybe those teams talked at some point to be like, "Oh, like this is like here's some things you can incorporate."
I was just talking about this with someone this morning. Back when Destiny was still with Blizzard, apparently they got a bunch of tips and whatever suggestions and help from Blizzard folks. I mean, they've been making MMOs for years and replayable content. And now Destiny's like, cool, we did our own thing. And now it almost seems like Blizzard is borrowing back ideas from what the Destiny team has done in their replayability. So it's kind of gone, they started it, put it, and then pulled it back.
I think it's interesting that devs do that. I think it's great. I think that sharing creative ideas between teams is, one of the beautiful parts about collaboration and working underneath the same publisher, is that you can have that kind of free flow of ideas. And we do sometimes see devs from different publishers working together, though obviously that inherently comes with a lot of other strings attached to it. But I'm excited to play Overwatch 2. I've long wanted to get into Overwatch, not just because the characters look so cool, and I have played a decent amount of Overwatch, but as Brittany mentioned, PvP just is not my thing. I jump into it from time to time. Like, I love doing PvP in Destiny, but as like an added thing to the PvE. Like, I'm there for the PvE. And so when they announced all of this PvE focus for Overwatch 2, it was like, yes, finally. And they've done so much extensive work narratively with the lore of Overwatch through all of the supplementary materials that they've put out and all the cinematics, the comics, etc., that it only made sense that they were going to add some kind of more robust story element within the game.
Absolutely. The people have been, they've added a bunch of lore or created a bunch of lore, but adding is the difficult part. And I was saying for months now, I was like, they keep hiring these lore writers, but nothing's coming out. So Overwatch 2, or the next Overwatch announcement, has to do with story. And sure enough, it did.
Nice. Well, cool. Yeah. Thank you for getting boots on the ground for us at BlizzCon and talking to us about Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2. Was there anything else that you played that you were like, oh my gosh, you guys have to hear about this?
Oh my gosh, no, but World of Warcraft was more World of Warcraft. It's fun. It's Warcraft. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's cool. But you play WoW, you know what the expansion's going to be like.
Yeah. That makes sense. Cool. So then maybe now, Brittany.
Oh, God.
It's time to talk about...
Are we ready?
The BBs. So this is where I say Sony Interactive has provided promotional copies of Death Stranding for us to play for the purpose of our impressions and for the purpose of us judging the Game Awards and for us to tell you about it. So we've been playing and it's been going... It's been going. It's been going. Go ahead, Britt. You start.
Okay. So I just want to start by saying that this is one of the most beautiful looking games I've ever played. Obviously, the motion capture is phenomenal. The acting is just like top tier. I am a sucker for story, and I think what Kojima has conjured up, and that I'm not gonna say little because that's mean, but I would say like a mind. I was like weird little mind, but that sounds like a diss. Don't mean it like that. And that mind of his is something so fascinating, and I am just so I'm hooked on this story. It's just so people say it's not Kojima weird, but as someone who hasn't played, you know, a lot of Kojima games, to me this is like a very weird thing, and I just appreciate where it's going and what it is because it's unlike anything I've ever played before.
Yes.
So like everything, I love every single thing about this game, but the thing I'm struggling with is the gameplay itself, which obviously is kind of an issue. You know, I paid attention to a lot of the preview videos that we got, but as we got closer to launch, I kind of stopped because I really did want to go into this as blind as possible. Because I knew I was going to play it. I just want to know, like, what did he come up with here? And the gameplay itself is just, it's hard for me to really get into it's unlike anything I've ever played. I feel like, you know, we've talked about reinventing the wheel, and I feel like Kojima is, in essence, trying to reinvent the wheel to an extent with the way you play the game, with the way you lug around. So, okay, I guess we should back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. So basically, because I feel like at this point, a lot of people kind of understand because the reviews have been out for a while, but yeah, like, let's back up. So you are Sam Porter Bridges, and you are trying to reconnect the world because some stuff has gone down. And the way of reconnecting the world is for you to get on your two little feet and to march your feet across the great America and connect things along the way via, and I'm remaining vague because I feel like these are kind of story points that are interesting.
Yeah, and this will be spoiler free, BT dubs.
Yes,
everybody worried.
obviously,
no spoilers.
Yeah. And along the way though, you have to keep your job as being a porter, which is someone who hand delivers goods from one place to another because that technology is just really not available where the country is at this point. So not only is it your job to connect the country, you have to continue delivering goods. And that's kind of where the gameplay comes in, is where we've all seen those big green rolling hills. We've seen the rivers, we've seen the ladders, and essentially you have gear at your disposal to help you traverse this land and to safely transport cargo from point A to point B, all while connecting the country because you are the only person who can do it, Andrea. Do you think that's kind of the sum? That's kind of like the sum of it, right?
Yeah, no, that's a good high level summary. So there's a lot of like nitty gritty jargony specifics that you'll learn, and then you'll have to struggle to understand because the game does not handhold you at all. And right. I appreciate just how weirdly deep sci-fi this concept of a game is, because I love weird sci-fi. I'm here for it. But when you have objectives that you have to go about and you're trying to understand the story, it's a little bit frustrating that the game doesn't really give you a ton in the beginning. Now, as you go through, you know, the more of the emails open up, you get more context through things you can read throughout the world, and the more you talk to people, the more it becomes clear. And I do appreciate that the very loose threads at the beginning come together, you know, midway and then, you know, through the end of the game. I haven't finished the game yet, for clarification.
Same.
Because as you guys may have known or seen, it is a long game. If you kind of mainline it, you can probably get it done in about 30 to 40 hours. But if you take your time with a bunch of other things, it can easily last 75 plus. So it really kind of just depends on how you want your Death Stranding experience to be. But yeah, I'm with you, Britt. I think that it's gorgeous. The animation is beautiful. I stop and look at the animation all the time and go, just the work that was done was really fantastic. And I do really enjoy the way that they incorporated the soundtrack into this game. I think it's one of the more artful ways that we've seen licensed music incorporated with an original score in a video game, because so often when you get games that have licensed music in them, they're either like a radio station that you flip on, or, you know, they are like a opening cinematic song or an end cinematic song. I mean, I think really the only game recently that's incorporated licensed music in a way that I thought was really interesting and cool was Red Dead Redemption 2. But even in that game, it's few and far between those cinematic musical moments. In this game, they're all over the place. And so I think that's something to be applauded for sure, what they did with the music in this game and how difficult that is from a licensing perspective, but also from an artistic perspective. So short aside there about the music. The music is really nicely done. And I am crossing my fingers that we're going to get some kind of Death Stranding musical performance at the Game Awards, especially since Keely and Kojima are good friends. I'm like, ooh, can we get some churches? I'm like into it. Anyway, that's just a selfish request. So the gameplay. Before we get into the gameplay, how are you feeling about the story so far as it relates to like themes and your emotional tie to it? What are your kind of like takeaways so far?
So I'm still trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
And but that's kind of the beauty of it. Like I have like these are all of my Death Stranding notes. I don't know if you can see.
She's
but
holding up a notebook, everybody, where she's handwritten notes into a spiral bound notebook.
Dude, I have 3 pages of notes where I'm writing down because, like I said, you know, it's interesting. Like Andrea was saying, all these loose threads, and you were like, okay, what is a repatriate or whatever it's called? What's dooms? What's a BB? What are these things? And no one ever really sits down and tells you what these things are. You just kind of have to like remember it in the back of your head, and then you kind of get context from conversations between the characters because you are literally just like thrust into this story. And you're like, okay, catch up. So I'm just now at the point where certain things are starting to come together, and I'm not quite sure how to feel about it just yet because what's touched upon is some, you know, I think can be pretty sensitive topics. Depending on, you know, who's playing the game or who's interpreting it however they are. And obviously this game is almost it's sci-fi, but it's almost borderline horror in a sense, I would say, with some of the themes and some of the
sci-fi thriller. Yeah,
sci-fi thriller. There we go. Yeah, the certain things that happen. And so it's not out of the norm to see that, you know, shit's gone dark and shit's going down and things are not good in the world. But it's right. I think TLDR, I'm still kind of on the fence, but I'm interested to see how it all kind of comes together as the story unravels. Because what I'm finding is I can pick up and play this game for like an hour or 2 at a time, and then I'm like mentally exhausted. But when I'm not playing Death Stranding, I'm thinking about Death Stranding. But it's not the kind of game anyway right now where I can just pick up and like hop in. It's not like hopping into a game like The Outer Worlds, right? Where, you know, it's a familiar RPG. You know how to play. Mm-hmm. You know how the mechanics work. With this, it's something completely different. And so when you do hop in, you're like, okay. And right when I feel like I'm getting the grasp of it, they introduce something new. And then it's like, okay, so now I have to remember this. And because, you know, we have been so busy and there are so many games to review and we have been traveling, it's been hard to keep it in one cohesive like thread in my head. That rhymed. But
a strand, maybe?
A strand. Oh, I miss opportunity missed.
It's okay. I had to get it in there. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think my struggle with it so far is that it's been a long time since I've been this conflicted about a game. And I'm struggling because I appreciate it for what it's attempting to do, for its amazing stab at this very lonely, desolate representation of where the United States is and how you're literally grasping at these strands to connect people together, and it represents itself and manifests through these objects that you see in the world placed by other people. So I don't know if they're officially calling it like an asynchronous multiplayer experience, but essentially, if you guys have seen any of the reviews, there is this ability to see other people leaving objects in the world, and you can leave objects in lockers for people to pick up. You can leave ladders to help people navigate and cross rivers and to go up and down rocks. You can put ropes out. You can essentially like leave these little signposts for people in the world to say, hey, somebody else was here. You're not alone. And even that I was conflicted on, because on one hand, I'm like, wow, this is a really cool mechanic that we really haven't seen before. It really feels innovative in a way. We've seen close obviously the Souls games have something similar in them, and we've seen other games try this kind of asynchronous multiplayer thing. So, I mean, I want to be clear, like, this isn't like completely brand new, but I think the way that is implemented in Death Stranding feels different and feels fresh and feels like something that I haven't seen before. However, I'm conflicted about it because I got kind of frustrated from the sense that it felt like there was no discovery for me. And that moment of exploration, which I feel like this game really focuses on, that deep, quiet exploration where you're just out in the world by yourself, trying to figure out where to go, what to do. Every time I felt like I was making some progress or I was doing something neat and different, I would see all of these placements in the world. And I'd be like, well, now I can't really figure that out on my own because somebody's signpost is there for me. And it was conflicting because on one hand, I'm like, oh, they're trying to help me. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, what if I wanted to figure it out on my own? And I don't know if there's a way to turn those things off. I don't think there is.
I don't know either. Yeah.
And the liking system, I inherently felt egregious too. And I don't know if that's because I have to work in social media so much for my job and we're just on social media all the time. But this idea of liking things and having to get things liked by people and how the likes contribute to the progression. I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that I have to like things. I don't like that people have to like my things. I don't want to leave obligations in the world just so people will like them. I was like, I do that enough online in my real life. I don't want to do it in a video game. But at the same time, I appreciate that it's kind of cool, but I'm mad at it.
It's a very... No, I totally, and I'm so excited to see what happens when this game, I guess tomorrow it launches for us anyway, the 7th.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see what people think when they go hands-on with this because it is just so one moment, like there's this insane, like serious moment in this game, right? Oh my God, like this stuff is going down, everything's bad. And then in the next moment, there's Monster energy drinks on the table. And then the next
Still
moment.
angry about that.
For real?
Yeah,
like
there's
it's the
a lot
most
of product
gross,
placement.
blatant product placement I've seen in a game in a really long time, and I don't know if it's because Kojima is just a giant fan of Monster energy drink, and he's like, I love monsters so much, I got to put them in my game. But it feels so out of place because it's a real brand with the cans so visible. I've taken so many screenshots that I haven't been able to share yet because now the embargo's lifted, but like. Because every time I see them, it makes me angry because I think that they've created this really unique, original world that literally the narrative of this game is the only thing keeping me going because I do not like the gameplay at all, period.
Yeah,
and like this Monster energy drink business just takes me out of it instantly every time I see them. I'm so mad about it.
Wow.
And it's actual consumable that you can use, I believe, as your stamina drink. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, like Andrew was saying, this incredibly fascinating narrative. And then, you see a Monster energy drink. And then Norman Reedus Sam is winking at you, in the camera. So you actually, he's looking at like the player winking, or, he'll go take a shower or pee. And then there's an advertisement for his new show on AMC. At least I believe it's a new show. And it's, I mean, I appreciate the weirdness, but definitely,
I find it egregious. I don't like it.
But part of it also reminds me that this is just a video game and people have been paid off for XYZ. And granted, like I know that happens a lot and through a lot of media, but in a story such as this, it just does seem a little out of place. And again, I'm not used to Kojima weirdness, so maybe this is par for the course, but it's definitely a hell of a ride. And egregious, weird, whatever you call it, I can't stop playing it because I want to know, like, how far is this going to be pushed? Like, how much weirder can it get? And it's just unfortunate that the gameplay just isn't really clicking with me. I think Greg called it meditative to him. And I have heard that after 10 hours or so...
20 hours from Brian Altano.
Okay, 10 to 20, that it changes. And maybe I'm still in the tutorial area, so maybe I won't be climbing up these green hills the rest of my life. I don't know, but I want to discover what happens in this narrative, and I want to know what's going on. But it's just the gameplay itself is just... Maybe it's I'm not used to it yet, but
so the
I just
traversal
can't.
Gets better for sure. Like you're right. Like it does get better. But that being said, like I'm always talking about the idea that games shouldn't wait to hook players for 20 hours in. Most gamers are never going to give a game that long to try it out. I mean, you've got maybe at best 3 to 5 hours for people to get hooked on your game. I mean, I think 3 hours is sometimes even generous for people who have lives and kids and other things going on, right? My big thing is that this game is all about moving and traversal. Like, that's such a giant mechanic in this game because it's literally about you moving across the United States, connecting these strands together. And the traversal mechanic is just, it feels punishing for the sake of being punishing. And it doesn't feel like there's a strategy. It just feels like we're going to give you these tedious things to manage. So when you're walking in the world, third person, you're walking, there's a visual indicator on the topography of the map as you're walking through. So you'll see, green and red and yellow indicators of like what kind of topography you can walk across safely, because you're carrying all these things on your back with a balance mechanic that is the demon spawn of any video game mechanics I've literally ever played in my goddamn life. Why are you making me a balance mechanic in a fucking video game? I don't want to do it. Anyway, continuing on. So if you see something that has like a bunch of red marks, oh, it's going to be dangerous for Sam to walk over there. Or if you see water that has specific marks, you're like, oh, I got to be careful if I'm trying to ford that river or whatever, right? I don't want that. If I'm in a video game world, I don't want to manage which rocks I'm stepping on. I want to just walk through the world and enjoy the atmosphere and enjoy the world, and then deal with, the mules or the BTs or whatever enemies that are coming across, and focus on my objective. And the idea that I have to climb over a tiny rock because it's just a rock and my character can't just step over it like literally any other video game would. I have to hit a fucking climb button. It makes me irritated, and it breaks the immersion. Like, I waffle so wildly from being waffle sounds good. Between being incredibly angry at this game and being completely amazed by what they're trying to accomplish. And that's why I go back to this idea of being conflicted, because I want to see this story. And I keep saying to John, because he's watching me play a lot of the times, and he like hears me like yelling at the TV from the other room. And I'm just like, I want this to be a TV series that I can watch. Because I really think the story is fascinating, and what they're doing and the acting, as you mentioned, is so good. And I really want to see what happens. And because I'm emotionally invested, I feel something with what's happening narratively with this story. But the gameplay every time just brings me out of it. And I don't know how to reconcile how frustrated I am. And I think this is what a lot of people are trying to communicate in the reviews that I've seen of this game. And because the highs are so high, I think people are forgetting how low the lows are. And obviously, you as a gamer need to decide what kind of gameplay is intriguing and exciting to you. Like Greg was saying on Kind of Funny Games, this podcast was saying, I love this game. I think that the exploration is great, and I found it meditative, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm just like, yo, I don't want to have to hit L2 and R2 to balance boxes on my back as a game mechanic ever.
And I mean, that's it. I appreciate. Okay, here's the thing. Is like, I get that you want it to feel. I'm still traversing on foot, so I get you want it to feel visceral. But I feel like I've played games where you have rough traversal and it still feels visceral because of the way the character leans or interacts or steps, or how maybe trying to go uphill is a little slower than when you're going downhill. Mm-hmm. And, honestly, it's too much of a pain in the butt. So in your menu, you can hit triangle and it'll optimize your your luggage, whatever. Thank you. Your load, so you can carry more stuff on your back, and it just makes it easier. But even then, if you're carrying a lot, you still are walking. And so what we haven't talked about is like, you'll walk, and then all of a sudden he'll start leaning to the right, and then you have to mash L2 or hold L2, and then he'll start leaning to the left, and you have to hold down R2. Or if you walk over a rock incorrectly, it'll throw you off balance. So what I found that I do is I just optimize my load in the menu, and then I just constantly hold L2 and R2. That way you really don't fall over, but you move a lot slower, and you can't really sprint. And it makes the traversal a little more annoying than I feel like it probably needs to be. So I mean, I do feel like every step I make matters, and it does give you that visceral sensation, but at what cost, right? And I know it's annoying to me. I know Andrea's been annoyed about it. I've never played a game where I'm so like up and down. You know, it's so bizarre. So I was looking on Metacritic, and right now it's at an 83. And I know IGN gave it like not a great review, and I know some people gave it. It's kind of all over the place as well. You know, a lot of people gave it high 9s, and some people gave it like real low 6s. Giant Bomb gave it a 4. VG 24/7 gave it a 6.
Wait, a 4 out of 5 or a 4 out of 10?
It says 40 and it's in the red, so I'm assuming.
Oh, if it's a 40, that's wow. I didn't realize they scored it so low.
IGN gave it a 68 or a 6.8 on their Games Radar. Gave it a 7. You know, so it's just Game Informer or 7. So yeah, it's just kind of all over the place. It's GameSpot a 9.
I feel like this is the kind of game that really is going to speak to people who are signed up for the weird and they don't really care about the game part of it, which is the frustrating part to me because I put so much emphasis on narrative, but it's a game at the end of the day. It's a video game. And to me, a game has to either be incredibly compelling or it needs to be very fun. And this game is straddling the compelling line because it's so weird that you have to kind of like go out on a limb and hope that it's going to get someplace. We haven't even talked about the BBs and this whole situation about like this narrative around these things that because they call them equipment in the game and how they're like ripped away and how there's mothers in like a different world. And I'm not going to go too far down that line because if you guys want to have the narrative like unfold for you, like I'm going to allow that to happen without spoiling for you. But there was a lot of things around the BBs that really hit me in an emotional way that I wasn't expecting, that I did not care for. And what I appreciate is that I felt something because I feel like that means that they're doing their job as storytellers. But what I didn't like was how I felt afterwards. So I didn't like the feelings, but I appreciate that they made me feel something. But the thing in the controller with the BB crying, with the speaker and the DualShock 4, and this idea that you have to like physically rock your controller back and forth to soothe your BB, I am not here for that. I do not have a baby. I do not want to take care of a baby. And thankfully, you can shut those functions in the DualShock 4 off. You can turn them. You can turn the speaker off. You can turn the motion control off if you want to. But I'm like, nah, dog. I don't want to take care of a baby inside of a video game. That doesn't sound fun. This is not hashtag fun to me.
This is why we need to do a spoiler cast eventually. There's just so much to talk about.
Ugh.
Yeah. So I mean, just to kind of like recap, I think obviously, like Andrea said, it's going to be something that speaks to you, that you're cool with, that you're like, I'm all for this traversal. I like how visceral it feels. You like the management of it. Or, you know, you could be like me where you can only handle like an hour or two at a time because it's kind of an exhausting game to play if it's not immediately clicking with you. But like me, you're going to keep thinking about the story and you're going to want to know what happens because it is so interesting. Or you're just going to be like, nah, dog, I'm just going to watch the cutscenes on YouTube. And that's fine too. It's I'm trying to stick with it. I really am. Like my goal is to get to the finish line. But dang, they are not making it fun. Sorry,
Andrea.
We've been talking a lot.
No, once you find out the secret reason why Monster Energy drinks are in the game, you're gonna feel ashamed of your words and deeds.
Oh yeah, why?
Oh, you don't get the meme. Oh, Hideo was talking about quiet, and he told people you will be ashamed of your words and deeds once you find out her secret reason why she wears no clothes.
Oh.
Wait, but what was her secret reason again?
Because she's plant people.
Oh.
So she needs
the
like
photosynthesis.
Bullshit, right?
Oh, there was too much going on there.
Oh, sorry. I got all excited. I just wanted to use the big word photosynthesis to make me seem like a smart human.
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
Yes, look at me. I paid attention in 7th grade.
You know what? Nah, dog. I remember being angry about quiet back then. I'm just as angry about it today. Like that's a bullshit fucking reason. I'm calling it like I see it. That's a bullshit reason for you to justify putting a girl in a bikini with a sniper rifle, which is against all fucking logic. But then again, that's what Kojima excels in, is doing like things that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. and being like, I'm weird and you're going to love it and you're going to eat it up with a spoon. And then everyone's like, I love it. I'm eating it with the spoons. Give me another one. I'm going to double spoon this weirdness.
Tagline for Death Stranding.
That's Death Stranding in a nutshell.
Oh, that needs to be a clip. Oh my gosh. I was thinking, okay, like what clip do we use for this week's show? Do we use where I was thinking Cher? Or do we use Andrea like feeding herself with double spoons? I don't know. I'm so conflicted.
I mean, I already saw that. In my head, I was like, oh no, Brittany's definitely clipping this for social. That's how I feel, okay? That's how I feel.
No, that's fine. You're allowed to have your feelings.
Thank you. Thank you.
Again, yeah, like I guess I don't really have anything much more to say other than like if you're going to hop into this game, prepare personally. I mean, I'm playing this and I'm like, this is unlike anything I've played before. You can't literally just pick up and start playing it. You know, it's not like anything else. How are people just so chill about it? You know, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing it. And the mechanics of it are still so confusing. Anyway, if you're going to play it, just prepare for something super unique, super different, and incredible acting. It's going to look beautiful. The sound is incredible. Everything is great about it. But the gameplay, I think, is where most people are kind of like, maybe that's where most people are divided.
Not everything is great about it. A lot of things are great about it.
For me, I'm into everything.
If you're going to say the word except or but, then you're not into everything.
Everything but the gameplay. Okay, I'm into 99%
That's a giant butt, Brittany.
It is a big, and I like
the
gameplay.
Butt. That's right.
And I like big butts. But it's I like, no, listen.
No, listen.
Gameplay is a big
real
thing.
talk. You're allowed to like things. You're allowed to think it's cool. I'm not trying to take that away from you at all. Don't
take away my happiness, Andrea. I'd be very sad.
But if your butt is but the gameplay.
No, that's the problem. It's a big butt. I'm not denying this ain't no little skinny ass. This is a big butt. You know, and that's the problem I'm having with this game. I'm intrigued.
Big butts and butt sex today on What's Good
I
Games.
know. The butt is the theme of the week, I guess. I'm just really excited to see what people think about this game who are played it.
And that's what I appreciate about what the discourse we're seeing. And shout out to Khalif Adams and his review in the Hollywood Reporter. It's something that he wrote about in his review for Death Stranding, talking about his excitement to talk to other people about this game, to have that water cooler moment. And how that's a really interesting part about what's happening in Death Stranding is that it's so weird and so different and so unique and also so innovative that you can't help but talk about it and you can't help but go, yo, so what did you think about this thing? And I think that in and of itself is worth applauding, that this game is going to have this kind of zeitgeist moment. And I think that that's something that, you know, Kojima has been known throughout his career to have these like off the wall beats in his games, right? But I think this is definitely going to be the cherry on the weird cake for him of water cooler moments. So we're definitely going to give you guys an update. We hope to do a spoiler cast with Steimer when she is back and she is able to get some hands-on time with it, because I definitely want to hear what she has to say about it. But as you guys know, she's not here. She's in Europe. Mm-hmm. So that said, I do want to move on because there's definitely more games to talk about, and we're already at a long show for this week. So, Bree, if you're in, you want to talk about a couple more games?
Yeah, let's roll. Let's go.
Okay, so Brittany, you have been playing Luigi's Mansion 3.
It's a delight, and we don't deserve it.
Right? I'm so excited about this game.
It's just such a feel-good game, and I think I have a newfound soft spot for Luigi because the shit he goes through is just he just wants to do good. He's just very introverted, very shy boy, and he just gets shit on. He gets the shaft. Anyway, Luigi's Mansion 3. So the last time I played a Luigi's Mansion game was on the GameCube, and I don't even know, I was a wee lass because I remember that was, I think, the first game I played on GameCube, and it wasn't spooky. But it was a little spooky, if you know what I'm saying, because like you're in a haunted house and there's ghosts.
Spoopy, even
spoopy.
Maybe.
That's the perfect. I've always wanted to use that word, and now I have a good way to use it. Luigi's Mansion was spoopy. Anywho, so I'm sure you know, you're all familiar with it, but essentially you are Luigi, Mario, Peach, and two of the Toads are they disappear throughout the middle of the night. This beautiful hotel that you've been invited to suddenly turns into this creepy haunted mansion. You're reunited with Professor Egad. You got your poltergeist back, and you have to go bust some ghosts and shit and try to save your friends. So the way the game is laid out is that there are 10 levels and 2 basement levels, and each level more or less is themed after something different. Of course, you have a couple levels of your typical hotel, but then you have something fun like a medieval level where there's knights and, you know, old weapons and stuff like that. And then you have a natural history museum. You have a really fun movie set. There's a garden area. And then now I'm currently in an Egyptian themed spot. So every level is kind of based off of something different, which really... It's really exciting to go through each level. But okay, what's next? What's next? Because what you have to do is you have to go through each level and collect elevator buttons because all the buttons have been taken, and you have to defeat ghosts to get the elevator buttons so you can put them back into the elevator and save your friends who are in paintings. And you have to use this thing called dark light, I think is what it's called, or black light. I don't know. It's weird. Anywho. So that's like the premise of Luigi's Mansion. You're trying to save all your friends who are somehow in picture frames. And the poltergeist has its main features. You can blow air, you can suck air, you can use your flashlight, you can use, I think it's called dark light. I think that's what it's called. It's like this rainbowy light that that makes things manifest that maybe were there earlier but aren't there now, and that helps with certain puzzle solving. But the big thing in this game is obviously Gooigi, and I have a soft spot for Gooigi. No pun intended. I don't know, maybe. So what's really great about this is I think this is a game that absolutely should be played in co-op if you can. Gooigi is essentially Luigi, but in goo form. And Gooigi can do everything Luigi can do. This is ridiculous. Minus he can't open doors, he can't climb ladders, and if he gets anywhere near water, he melts into a puddle of literal goo. But what he can do is he can go through pipes, you know, that have little drains on them, or drainage holes in the ground themselves, which also like lend themselves to puzzles. And as you go through these levels, obviously your ultimate goal is to get to the end to find the next elevator button. But there are collectibles. There are 6 gems per level that are themed after the floor you're on. There also are boos that you can find and suck into your poltergeist if you so wish. I'm not really collecting this stuff anymore because I started, but I just kind of want to like see what happens. And it's just a really good feel-good game. I feel like Nintendo finally, not finally, because I've always enjoyed the Luigi's Mansion games, well, the one I played anyway, and I followed the others but never played them. But they finally, this is like it. Like, this is like the best it's been. They've really got their footing with it, and they do some really smart things with this game. And I think it's just a really good feel good. It's a treasure. It's a gem. If you're just looking for something fun to pick up and play, that's not too complicated. It's not a difficult game at all whatsoever. It just has that Nintendo charm that they're known for. So I would definitely recommend playing it. It's just so fun. It's so pure. We don't deserve games like this.
Aww, yeah, I love a good pure game.
I do want to take a moment to poke fun because
okay.
It is very rare that I play a Nintendo game that has bugs. Extremely rare. But I've encountered two bugs in this game.
Oh.
One of them was that all the prompts to open doors disappeared, so I was literally stuck in a room that I could never, ever leave. Oh. Which was quite frightening, but I was able to just boot it up. And then the next one was Luigi fell through the floor and he was somersaulting forever. And it was really fun. It was fun because on the D-pad, you can push, the buttons on the D-pad and you'll go, Mario. It's you're just doing somersaults. And I was talking to a few other people on our What's Good Games fan page, and they also have had some issues. But thankfully, the autosave system is really great, so you're not really going to lose a lot of progress. Another issue is just the controls. The controls themselves they're not terrible, but first of all, there's no invert. So don't give me shit, Andrea. I know what you're going to say. I don't want to hear it, but there's no invert option. So that's kind of been a little weird for me. Not terrible. And
in your defense, even though, I love to give you shit about inverting controls, in 2019, to me, it's unacceptable that if there's camera control in a game, that invert is not an option. I'm just going to lay that out there. It is unacceptable in 2019. If you have camera control in your game with a stick, you have to have an invert option. Boom, done.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. The good news is that the game isn't punishing even if you do look down instead of up or left instead so if you look down instead of up, the game's pretty good at knowing like what you want to do. So even if you do screw up, it's not super punishing. And it can be a little weird when you're trying to turn left or right, because Luigi can turn in a 360, obviously, and sometimes it gets a little wonky. Again, like you'll be fine. And the other thing is, you know, you have your flashlight, you have a plunger that you can throw at things and then suck on the plunger rope, because there's a rope on the end of your plunger, and you can use that to yank stuff down or pull stuff around. The game teaches you that you have to use the A button and I think the Y button for those actions. The problem with that is that requires your right thumb, obviously, to push those buttons. And when your right thumb is pushing those, there's no way to turn Luigi because you need to do that with your right thumb. They does that make sense? So they tell you like use these buttons, but you can actually use the shoulder buttons to do those same movements. So always use the shoulder buttons, because they don't tell you that, but if you test every button, you're going to find that they do what you want them to do. And if you hold both down at the same time, you get the dark light. And they don't tell you any of this, but this is just a pro tip from yours truly.
Oh, thanks for the pro tip.
Yeah. Anyway, definitely should play it. It's very deserving of all of the praise it's getting. It's just a really good, I'm looking forward to playing that after the podcast tonight, because it's just a good, relaxing, upbeat, this is just, it's fun. And finally, there's a level in there called the Grand Sand Hall, or the Sand. I wrote it down. Let me find it. Hold on. I wrote it down. Sandy Grand Hall, and it is one of the most satisfying moments I've ever had in a video game. It's this huge hall of nothing but sand, because I'm in the Egyptian theme, and you can suck it all up with a poltergust, and the way the sand physics moves. I mean, literally, Jason and I spent 20 minutes last night just sucking up all the sand. Got absolutely no reward whatsoever. But if anyone's listening to this and you've done that level, you know what I'm talking about. It was extremely therapeutic in that. And that's it. That's my Luigi's Mansion thing. Nice. Thank you for not judging me. Thanks for not speaking out. But I'm going to introduce you to this Sandy Grand Hall, Andrea, and you're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about. Because, oh my God, I never thought sucking up sand in a vacuum cleaner would be so great.
It's therapeutic. I know. I like vacuuming. It's nice. There's a mess, and then you vacuum it, and it's gone. Boom.
I hate vacuuming. I hate it. Yeah. But vacuum up sand is the best, apparently. I'm just saying. I know there's at least one of you out there who knows what I'm talking about. I'm going to post this shit on Twitter and feel validated.
No, I understand, because there was a moment this morning, this is such a weird random aside, where John accidentally discharged one of our fire extinguishers. So also I didn't realize what kind of materials inside of your typical fire extinguisher, and it's like sand almost. So quick aside, we're moving things out of the closet, because in his closet, the master closet, that's where the ladder into the roof access is. Also, good job, builder, for putting the freaking attic access inside the closet. That was dumb. So we're moving things out because we're having an electrician to come to run wires to the studio construction that we're doing, which BT dubs, I'm doing a vlog that you can watch on patreon.com/whatsgoodgames to give you an update on the studio construction if you want to watch. And so we know that electricians come in, they probably need to get attic access. And I am in the kitchen feeding the cats their morning breakfast, and all I hear is oh shit. And I'm like, what's going on? And I walk back there, and he's like, do you have the vacuum? I go, why? And he's like, so the fire extinguisher went off. I go, what? What happened? He's like, why is there a fire extinguisher in the closet? And I was like, okay, maybe we both have some explaining to do. So, long story boring, we got a new HVAC when we moved into the house, and when you turn an HVAC on for the first time with the heater, it has a burning oil smell. The guys warned me, they're like, don't freak out, it's normal, it'll go away within 24 hours. But it set the fire alarm off when I turned it on, and apparently the fire alarms in my house, Brittany, yell, fire, 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 what? Fire, over and over again until the alarm goes off. And I've never heard a fire detector that does that. So rightly so, I freaked the fuck out, because I'm home by myself, because John's in Tokyo or whatever. So I run and get one of our 3 fire extinguishers, and I bring it to the back, and then I open the door to let the smoke out, and it goes away, and everything's fine. But I left the fire extinguisher there, because in my mind I'm like, well, the attic access goes out to the pipes where the fucking the condenser goes for the HVAC system. So I was like, well, if there's a fire up there, I want to have a fire extinguisher close. So I just left the fire extinguisher in the closet. He's moving stuff around. Oh. He moves one of the boxes inside the closet against and doesn't realize the fire extinguisher is there. I thought there was a pin in it. Apparently there was supposed to be a pin. There was no pin in it.
Oh my God.
Hits it at just the right angle where it depresses the nozzle on the top to get it to spray. And now it's just pumping this like sand like material all in the closet everywhere.
Oh no.
And so I get back there and I'm like, what happened? He's like, why is there a fire extinguisher in the closet? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I'm just laughing at the thought of you like sitting doing your thing and then fire, like going off at your house. And
I freaked out. It was so loud.
Oh God. I can't. Okay, my heart, my old ticker. Okay. That was a great story.
I got to vacuum up that material, which was very much like sand, and it was therapeutic.
That was a really good tie-in. Honestly, I'm very impressed.
This makes me want to play Luigi's Mansion now.
Girl, you need to.
Yeah. I did before,
but
now I really
Just
want
get to that level, man.
Oh my goodness, my face. Sorry, I had to tell that story.
That's a great story. That's probably the best tie-in you'll ever have in your entire career. So just give up now.
It's never gonna happen again. But I think no surprise, Luigi's Mansion 3 is good. It's tough because I want to talk about Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but like the show was running long, so I'm trying to decide. Britt, what should we do here? Should I talk about Modern Warfare? You've played it. I've played it. Bree,
I haven't played it. So what I was going to say, why don't we hold off so we can both talk about it next week?
Okay.
There you go.
So I played the campaign start to finish in 2 sessions. Took me about 5 to 6 hours. I can't wait to talk to you about it. I am so impressed with what Activision has done. Obviously, Activision spends a crap ton of money making Call of Duty games. And I know everybody loves to hate Call of Duty, but this is a campaign like I haven't seen in a long time. And I think they delivered the goods in a way that is not only cinematic, which what they're known for, but the story feels cohesive. I feel like I could follow it. I actually cared about the characters at the end of the story, which is so rare for a Call of Duty campaign. Mm-hmm. And I just was continually impressed by the technology showcased in what Infinity Ward was doing in Modern Warfare. And I can't wait to go into more details next week. But like, I really like hats off to the team at Infinity Ward for a job well done and a fantastic campaign that really lives up to its, popcorn blockbuster status that they have that we talked about on the show last week with all the sales numbers and stuff that they were touting. It's no surprise. Yeah. The game seems like it's phenomenal. So
excited.
Okay. That said, we're going to end this segment because when we come back, you guys have sent us some questions for Sabriel. We want to talk to her about what she's doing in the game space. And we've got an update for you on that Xbox All Access that we asked you guys to write in about because several of you did. So stick with us. We'll be right back. What's good, everybody? Welcome to our feature segment of the What's Good Games podcast. As you know, we've been chatting with Miss Sabriel Mastin this whole time. Sabriality on Twitter is her tag. And if you didn't know, she's pretty cool. She does a lot of things.
I agree.
It's true.
Yeah, good. I'm glad that you agree. So we had some people write in some questions, which we'll get to in just a second at whatsgoodgames.com/DearWGG. Don't forget, you can always send your questions to us there for the show. We do check it. So what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that we didn't really get to talk to at the top of the show was kind of like how you got involved in the video games and media space in the first place. It's a question that people ask us all the time. And so I also in turn like to ask people because I'm fascinated about like what drew you to wanting to work, in video games at large, but also about like, what you want to do and what you're currently doing in the video game space. So before we get to your question specifically, what was your first video games job?
Gosh, so I've been active on Twitter since like 2007, 2008, whenever it came out. And few years into it, Kathy over at wow, I can't IGC indie gamer chick. Wow.
There you go.
She DM'd me one night in the middle of the night. She's like, "You're opinionated. You should write for me." That's how I started.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so I did. I started covering indie games. I would go to PAX and play indie games, review them there, or preview them there, come back, review games with her. And it was a lot of fun.
And that's
I
how we
started working
met. PAX 2014?
14. Yeah. You were doing a panel with some folks, and you mentioned you were from North Dakota. And I was like, oh, no way.
Yeah.
And I just happened to see you the next day at a party and said, hey, did you say that? And you're like, yep. And here we are.
It's true. I'm from
We
North
met
Dakota.
at PAX South, right?
You and I actually met there, yes, but we've known each other. Actually, maybe
For a
it was
lot.
even the same weekend. I
can't
think
remember.
we talked on the show
I think
floor.
I saw
so-
you physically for the first time at PAX South, I think.
Yeah, it's possible.
But we have been
so-
bros on Twitter for a while.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And so
Yeah,
I started
fun.
working with indie games, and then just kind of started slowly expanding more and more to covering other things. And back in 2016, I was hating my real life job. So
I know that
much.
feeling.
And I was like,
Britt
I
knows
need to get
that
out of
story.
this, so I quit. Like, I didn't have a plan, I quit. I had some support of others to help out for a few months, and I saw a job opening for social media at Overbuff, where I work now. And I'm like, I'm doing nothing. I'm just going to give this a shot. And here I am, working for them. So covering, and
That's
through that, I
awesome.
started covering bigger games and esports, which I had enjoyed before, but now I absolutely adore. And
What is it about esports that you adore so much?
part of it was kind of I enjoyed watching StarCraft back in the day, but not really closely. But I was never really into traditional sports. And suddenly, like, there's this game I understand a little bit, and people are playing professionally. I'm like, this is competitively. This is interesting. And then Overwatch really kind of spoke to me as a game itself. Like, wow, there's people that look like me, seem like me, and whatever. And I got into this, and like, whoa, there's an esports scene coming here too. And so I started watching those early days. Like, there was an esports scene before the game even came out. And I'm just loving this and loving the personalities. And like, I got to do that. And I don't really want to play competitively. I do casually, but not a hardcore level. But the learning sports, wow, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. But just seeing the sport around something I understood really spoke to me. And I've actually started enjoying traditional sports too since then.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
like I
cool.
started getting into WNBA this year, which is really been an interesting experience getting into traditional sports so late, especially after
Welcome.
esports.
Welcome.
Sports ball. I mean, Brittany and
Yeah.
I are both big fans of sports, particularly football. We like to jab each other about our football teams.
I mean, go Vikings.
Yeah, go Vikings. That's right.
Boo.
I mean, I would watch football, but with friends. And I mean, one of my best friends' cousin plays for the Vikings, the Thielen. So
Wait,
like I have to.
What?
Yeah.
You have a
Yeah.
connection to Thielen? Oh,
Very
John's dancing
loose,
in the
very
hallway.
tentative, but yes.
I was like, what's happening over there? Just John. He's dancing. That's awesome. Also, I don't want to go down a Vikings rabbit hole because we could be here all day. I think it's really fascinating, though, that you started out with this love of esports and then that brought you to the traditional sports, because generally it's the other way around. I think my experience with the esports community, after having worked in esports and, seeing how it's grown over the years, is that I still feel like esports has this giant hurdle to overcome, of that it's just not easy for people to become fans because the gameplay is so difficult to follow. Even if you're a fan of the game, like you're a fan of Overwatch, you can watch Owl and watch some of these other competitive leagues and see the professional players and understand what they're doing. It's still difficult, even as a player. And for people who don't play, it's impossible. And I think that traditional sports, from the rule set alone, is just a little bit easier to follow. So, like, I don't know the ins and out of all the errors and the rules around baseball, but I love going to baseball games and have a great time watching baseball, because the rules of, like, oh, they've got to hit the ball and make it around the bases is a pretty easy concept to understand, even though clearly I'm being reductive intentionally. But video games are not that way. And I love that you brought up StarCraft, because I feel like StarCraft is probably the most complicated game of esports to ever exist, even more so than where the MOBAs are at. Because obviously, you know, MOBAs were born out of we're really born out of like MMOs and a combination of like real-time tactics combined with MMO tactics. Like, it's really interesting, like looking at the history of the MOBA genre in general. But like, I love watching old StarCraft 2 esports stuff just for the sheer fascination with all of the like wizardry that's happening on screen. Because not only are the casters just like spitting all this crazy stuff that I'm like, what the heck is even happening? But like, the players themselves are moving at such a clip with such really intricate, deep strategies involved that it's amazing to me that it's even a thing that occurred, that happened, that existed.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I watch so much Overwatch esports, especially Overwatch League, and I will still once in a while get lost, like, what just happened or what's going on here. I mean, and I mean, this is someone whose like career is doing this, and I still have to like sometimes pause and rewatch something like, oh, okay, that's how it happened. So yeah, no, I totally get it, and I have actually enjoyed that about traditional sports. Like, wow, I can slow down and kind of just enjoy this moment. It's while traditional sports might be fast paced, it's not esports fast paced.
Sure.
Right.
And I can totally vibe and watch traditional sports and still get what's going on.
Yeah, those real humans need a break from time to time, you know?
Yeah.
That's true. It's true. That's really cool. So have you ever thought about wanting to go into casting or doing more work with esports?
I actually did that a few years ago. I've hosted a few events too.
Oh,
but it's very low key.
Awesome.
Yeah, so camera work and all this I love being on camera. Actually, I found out through this. But I really, once I started doing it for a bit, I realized like maybe hosting isn't quite what I wanted to do. I enjoyed doing it, but it wasn't really my calling after all. And so, but I'm glad I got the opportunity to try it out. Casting, I've done that too for community tournaments and charity events, but neither of them really felt like my calling. So I got to find some way to. Well, I even, because I like to be on camera, I like to talk. As much as it sounds like I've had difficulty today for whatever reason.
Thanks, somebody.
I've done a show on Overwatch, uncovering. I did a video version of it and realized how much work that goes into producing video content weekly, and so I turned it into an audio show, and I just retired that show after about 250 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy
Congrats
crap,
on
girl.
250 episodes, though. That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
But I'm trying to find a new avenue how I can put my things I've learned in production and hosting and whatnot into use, and I'm a little hiatus for that part right now.
Because I was going to ask you, so what do you think your calling is? But you're experimenting and figuring it out.
Yeah, so right now I'm doing, I did an Overwatch beat for fanbyte.com for a while. I will pitch some things here and there, but I'm still trying to find that new calling since I've done the writing, I've done some producing and content creation. I'm trying to figure out how I can make that work for me.
Our official Blizzard correspondent for What's Good Games.
There you go. See you in a year.
We need you. Help us.
Happy to help.
Well, that's awesome. And I obviously, we mentioned already that you were on our Extra Life stream in Fargo when we were there at eGame Central, and I was so glad that we were able to feature you and your channel because, you know, as we had said before, that, you know, being in Fargo and growing up there, like, video game culture feels almost non-existent, or if it exists, it felt like very much like underground in a way, and I'm so glad to see that it's become a much bigger thing today than it ever has been in the past, with like, there's a barcade now and there's multiple places to go. Like, you can go play emulation games, you can play games, esports at, you know, eGame Central and things like that. And so how's it been for you being a fan of video games, you know, kind of growing up where we are from and kind of watching that culture change over your lifetime?
It's been great. So I admit I do still stay here and play games a lot because that's what online gaming is. You stay here, like, but I am very glad these places exist. I mean, when we went to eGame Central, I was amazed at this amazing setup. This is really cool. But with we also have some LAN groups in town here, that they have actually gotten TV coverage locally. Try to get people to just come up, bring your computer. We're gonna have a good old fashioned LAN party, and it's been neat having that. Yeah, and well, here I was like, I used to do this all the time with my friends, and we never got the TV coverage. But,
Yeah, I know, right? Those
but
kids.
no, but seriously, no, it's been really great. I was friends with some of the guys there, and it was really cool to just kind of like, yeah, there are other PC gamers here. Like we know the console work or people do consoles, but the PC gaming thing is kind of big here too, and it's really cool. It's just been really nice after what we grew up in, like Fargo and Detroit Lakes, where I have to ride bike to the store and just talk to my friends at school.
You went uphill in snow both ways.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh my God, you two.
But like
Stop it.
legitimately, you probably did in Detroit Lakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Fargo there's no hills, so
The snow problems are real out there, and in the more, I don't want to say backwoods because Detroit's not technically backwoods, but kind of. You kind of have to go through
it's
the
like
backwoods to get there.
yeah, it's on the edge of backwoods.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I knew that you were from Detroit Lakes.
Yep, grew up there.
Oh man,
We fest every year. Woo!
dude, I love WeFest.
Actually, super.
We gotta bring Brittany to Fargo in the summer, like proper summer.
Yeah, she loved that.
Weed Fest?
WeFest. So like
W-E.
WE.
Okay,
It's a
so first
country
I thought you
music
said
festival.
Weed Fest, like WEED, and I'm like, okay, I can roll with that. And then Wee Fest, I'm thinking WII, and now okay, it's gone through a million transitions. Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
no,
Yeah.
WeFest is a country music festival. So it's like it's a multi-day festival where the biggest acts in country music come and play on several stages. I mean, it's like any other music festival. There's you know
cool.
like Stagecoach out here in California, but there, and the reason why it's so big there is because like there's very few music festivals that come to that part of the country because there's such a limited window of weather when they can accomplish a festival like that. And so it's huge because people come from, you know, all over the region to drive in for this festival. So
And for the 4 people who will get it, they're actually not doing it this year.
wait, what?
First time ever.
Why?
New company bought them out, and who knows if they'll ever come back.
Oh no.
Yeah. 25 years? It's 37 years. Like 30 years old. I'm 1 year older than WeFest.
That is
Dang.
wild. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, drama. But we don't need to talk about WeFest drama right now. We're talking about video games and Miss Sabriel. So I want to ask you some of these questions that our audience has written
let's
in.
go.
So this one comes from Sindel. Sabriel, who's your Overwatch main? Also, what were your guys' thoughts on the Blizzard cinematics? Heart emoji eyes, smiley is what they put in. Thanks, Sindel, for your question. So you talked a little bit about your Overwatch main as being
Yeah.
Ana.
Ana. I call myself an Amari main, which is Ana and her daughter, Farah. Those are my
Okay.
2 favorite heroes. Ana is my absolute favorite hero in that game because you shoot your allies to heal them, and which is how cool is that?
That's
but
a
also,
great concept.
I mean, I really loved how she plays, but also just her character concept is awesome because how many games let you play as one of the main characters, an old woman?
What's
I
your
mean,
name?
it-
Anna?
Ana, A-N-A.
It's true.
All right, I'm googling Anna.
Oh yeah, I
And,
remember
like-
when her art was officially released, and it was like I think people were really excited about it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
and-
so she is a sniper, but you heal people with it.
Yep.
Ah, very cool.
And it's just the cool concept of playing an old woman and like a mother character to a character who's in the game as well. Just kind of neat. And I actually did a poll like years back now, like how many games actually let you play an old woman, and people came up with maybe 2 or 3. And it's like, yeah, that's just really cool. I'm glad they did that.
Well, Watch Dogs Legion next year.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
All
Granny,
granny
let's go.
armies.
I'm ready.
Okay, so another question from Matt is how did shape-shifting as a druid in Diablo IV feel? Does it feel tangibly different walking around as a werebear or a werewolf since the transformations are tied to skills and are instantaneous? I'm wondering if the feeling of being transformed into a different form is lost.
So as I mentioned very briefly earlier, I got called away when I was playing the druid, so it's a very limited experience. I'm sorry, but it felt natural. Like once you learned how the moves actually feel, like it felt natural. Like this is what's going to happen when I push this button. So I say it felt good. And again, this is a very early demo. Your experience, your mileage may vary, but I think it felt good.
They feel all weighty, like boom, boom.
Yeah.
There.
To overuse the term, visceral.
Yes. Take a shot every time we say visceral. Too late.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So no, it felt good.
Good. I'm excited. Werebears all day. Kevin, aka One Floppy Wiener, asks
What?
what
Okay, Kevin. What?
Listen.
What the fuck?
That's what he wrote.
Why?
Is this the Kevin you know?
No. Oh God, no. I hope
Different
not.
Kevin.
Better be a different
I don't know
Kevin.
them.
Asks, how likely is it Diablo 4 to actually look like what we saw at BlizzCon? Says, seems like Blizzard promised a lot at BlizzCon in reaction to what happened last year with the Diablo Immortal announcement. Will that help or hurt their current public image?
This feels like a few questions here.
Yeah.
Okay, first question again. I've
So,
already.
do you think, how likely is it that what you played at BlizzCon is actually going to be what the game looks like when it launches?
Oh, I think very likely. As long as you're not talking about the cinematic.
I mean, but like we all know that was very much like a not
I
a real
assume
thing.
that's not what the question meant. Yeah. But no, I think it's gonna. I think that what we saw in the demo or show floor was pretty close to what we're gonna see in the end experience. It felt good. I mean, I don't know if that conveyed in video very well, but when I had it actually right in front of me, it felt good and beautiful and dark. So I think it's gonna. I think you'll see this later.
Nice.
One floppy wiener. I can't.
One floppy wiener, indeed.
I imagine it like flopping around like a Magikarp out of water. Like what's happening there? You know what I mean? It's like a mental image.
No,
that I don't want.
No, stop. No, why? Oh,
I'm telling you, I can't get it out of my head. That's why you need to change your name, sir. I'm all for. Sorry, go ahead. I'll let this go. I need to like get over it. This is me getting over it. Like, go ahead.
If you've played recent Warcraft or seen recent Warcraft in-game cinematics or some of the Overwatch cinematics, you can see they're using that technology here in Diablo 4 as well, where they have 3D rendering they do for some in-game cinematics. That looks really good. So it's not actually just static. We took a CG person or a computer graphics. We didn't make a cinematic for this. We used the in-game models for cinematics, and it looks pretty good.
nice. I'm excited to play. I want to play.
Floppy wiener.
Floppy wiener.
Yeah, we gotta move on.
Okay, we're moving on. So I want to move on to some of the responses that you guys sent in when we asked. So last week, we talked about the Xbox One All Access details about this essentially idea that you pay for an Xbox now and then you get to upgrade it to Scarlet next year at launch. And in the meantime, you get access to Game Pass and Gold, correct? And so we were we were confused kind of about how the product works and about what's the value. And so we said, WGG listeners, write to us and tell us what's exciting to you about this, because Brittany and I were like head scratching of like, why would anybody want to do this? Seems like you're just paying for something almost like a layaway program. And so a bunch of you wrote in. So thank you so much to everybody who wrote in. The one I'm going to read is, or right now, we'll try to touch on a couple others, is from Nick. Nick writes in and says, "Hi ladies, I'm listening to your show from last Friday, and you were asking people to write in whether they consider the Xbox All Access package. Personally, I find this option really great and will probably look towards applying for the Xbox One X package. It allows people to actually get an Xbox One X for around $100 to $120 if you, in his little math, like multiplies the $30.99 times 12 equals $371 roughly. And it's cheaper than the current retail price of $499 based off the current Amazon and Best Buy prices. Getting this discount with the Xbox One X, which is kind of what I want so I can play games like Gears 5, included with the Game Pass option and the upgrade to Project Scarlet, seems like a pretty good deal to potential customers who only have a PS4. Granted, it's a 24-month lease where you're still paying for both consoles and subject to potential credit impacts, but I still think it's a good deal to gamers who don't currently have an Xbox and want to get one in the middle of the next-gen rollout." So I thought that was a really interesting way to put it.
Fair.
Of this idea of like, well, if you've been, dragging your feet on getting an Xbox and there's games on the platform that you're interested in that are launching before Scarlet does, like here's a way to pay for it and then just auto upgrade to the feature when the next one rolls out.
So wait, where did the savings come into place? He said you save like $100.
You save by
$150.
paying the monthly fee. Because by the time you're done paying the monthly installments, when Scarlet comes out, that'll still be less than buying an Xbox One X at retail price upfront right now.
Oh, okay.
So like
Got
if
it.
you're gonna get like a standard Xbox One X off the shelf, most places still have them unless you catch one on a sale. Right now you're probably just gonna pay full price, which is $500 MSRP, right? And then what he's saying is, hey, if you do the payment plan, not only do you get to get the console and bring it home while you're on the payment plan, you get to play on Game Pass in the meantime while you're waiting for Scarlet to release. So Trevor also wrote in and said, who is this for? Mentioned that he was listening to the show and asked for feedback. He says, someone like me. I'm in the position where I am a poor game developer who would like to play with an upgraded system, the Xbox One X, or the Scarlet when that launches. So this is perfect for me. I make my money on the side doing web development while our first game is in development, so I'm more likely to be able to spend $30 per month on a system than put down the full amount. It's also not a bad deal if you want an Xbox One X, as it's cheaper than the price for both the console and the Game Pass Ultimate. Since Scarlet is out next year, I would be more likely to do this than buy an Xbox One X outright, because why would I spend all that money up front when the system will be outdated next year? With this, I at least get part of the next Xbox paid for and continue to enjoy the games made available through Game Pass with a performance bump throughout the year. Love the podcast and I've been listening since the beginning. Keep killing it. Oh, thanks. So now that we've had several people like write in, and these are just two of the people that have written in and explain it, it's much more clear to me what this value is, especially as somebody who literally just paid to upgrade my iPhone to the new iPhone. So girl, get ready for all of the tri-camera selfies for what's
Oh, shit. Oh, God.
But like, I understand the concept more of why this makes sense. It's like, if you don't want to keep your Xbox and you're perfectly happy to ditch your Xbox One to swap it out for a Scarlet, because maybe it's not your primary system, or maybe you just want to test it out, you know that you want to get into the Scarlet ecosystem next gen, that makes sense from a monetary perspective. I guess in my mind, I don't automatically get rid of my consoles when the new generation comes out. I generally keep at least one of the consoles, so I have one of each console. Obviously, we're a multi-console household here because we both work in video games, and I understand that that's not a situation that most people have. And so my situation is different than a lot of the people who wrote in and were like, actually, this is exactly for me. And so thank you so much to everybody who wrote in, and it makes much more sense now about why you guys think it's a good investment, why you think it's a financial savings, and what you're excited about for Scarlet.
Yeah, it makes sense, especially since it'll be backwards compatible. And, you know, the good old cloud saving.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, friends.
Thanks. This is why we like to have discourse with our What's Good Games community, because you guys can write in and go, excuse me, ladies, this is how I feel about it. And we can have a fun discourse about it. And you guys are great. We love you.
It's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, I was going to see if there was any of these others, but I don't know. I don't think so. Because they're mostly just repeats. There's basically just like some of the other questions that came in were just essentially the same questions that we've already asked you, Brie, about Overwatch. And I don't want to like be redundant about what we've already talked about, but I guess what I would like to ask you to kind of like wrap up our time here is, are there things about, you know, the gaming community that excite you and that you want people to check out? Or do you have content that people can go watch? And, you know, what are you up to right now? What's next for Sabriality?
Well, before I forget, because I always forget to plug myself. If you
Plug
can't
yourself.
spell, if you can't spell Sabriality, like I can't half the time when someone asks me to, just go to sabriel.me. My website has links to everything I do.
Like a saber, like a
Sabriel.
saber-toothed tiger.
Yep, sabriel.me.
Like you
Just like the
saber a
book.
bottle of champagne.
Oh,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
like that. Okay, so sabriel.me.
Yes.
Got it. I'm on your website.
So what's next for me? Like I said, I'm still kind of figuring that out. I'm a little in between things. I mean, still working. It's just I want to do video production. I but I'm also looking to be at PAX East again. I've done many panels there now over the years, which
Yeah.
I love doing. So if you don't know, I am trans.
I
And,
do know. But
you
people
know,
listening
but
don't
if-
know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you're not following me yet, but no.
What are you talking about?
Should be.
And know
Oh, you
this,
mean
and know
people
this.
listening, Avi.
Yeah. I know you do. But no. So I pride myself in being out there. I want people to know you're not alone. And so I go to conventions, and often that is a topic that I talk about, or it is an aspect of what I am talking about, or I talk about it online. I just want to be visible and there. You're not alone. And so, if you ever need someone to talk to, come to me or just follow my feed. I talk a lot of gay stuff. Not gonna lie, a lot of Overwatch, a lot of gay stuff, and what else? A lot of Fargo stuff. I usually hashtag myself. If you do not like Overwatch, you don't have to listen to it. but I look forward to being at PAX East again, talking about whatever I'm going to be on. I think it's going to be an interesting panel if it goes in. I can't talk about it quite yet, but so yeah, just if you want to see a trans woman's experiences both in Overwatch and gaming and whatnot, and when she watches gay stuff online, just check out my Twitter feed. I love to talk about just about everything.
Do
You
you?
have a great timeline.
Yeah. No.
Thank
We talk a lot on Twitter. I was going to ask you. So obviously, you had mentioned that you speak publicly on panels at things like PAX. Do you find that the community of more people in the trans community who are out in video games is becoming bigger and bigger? Or do you kind of feel like it's still that a lot of trans people still don't feel comfortable like being out and being a gamer?
Wow, I wish I had this community back when I was young.
Oh.
No, it's big, especially gaming spheres. Gaming, MMOs, and similar games interact a lot in the trans sphere, and I think it's much bigger than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and I'm so happy for that. I mean, like, trans women are like a dime a dozen now on Twitter. Maybe it's just my very select feed, just because it's my community, but it's like I just feel like we're everywhere now. It seems like. And some people talk about it, some people don't. But it's becoming a very normal thing in a lot of spaces. I'm so happy for that. Wish I would have had that when I was younger.
Are there specific communities that you're a part of, or forums or sites that you recommend to other people who are looking to join trans communities online?
Yeah. So my friend, I could get her actual group name. Nicotine. She does a streamer. She does a huge trans community. Just look at Nicotine, Niki teen, and on Twitter or on Google, and you will find her. That's a huge community there, which is really great. I am part of Girl Gamer subreddit, which is a big trans community on there as well. Topics will just it's not necessarily that we come there to talk about trans things, but it's a topic that comes up every now and then in the subreddit. I'm a moderator there as well. And let's see, I'm also in a great Discord Overwatch group. Why am I drawing a huge blank
On the
their
name of
right
the
now?
Discord?
Only
Yeah,
because you've
yeah,
been
yeah,
with
yeah.
us for like 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's
okay.
That could
We
be
put
it.
you
It
through the
could be it,
ringer,
but
Brie. It's
I
our
got it.
fault.
Yeah. Really.
Death Blossoms. It's a really cool Discord of female identified and women gamers up there. I'm on a great team. And so like I've surrounded myself with great community. And I mean, my online experiences are pretty good, honestly. Especially at least with people on my team. Other teams who are usually randos are another matter.
Yeah.
And they don't count.
No, I'm glad to hear that. I think it's tough. I mean, as you know, like just being female in gaming can be really tough for a variety of reasons, but it's becoming a more and more friendly place to people of all genders, ethnicities, religions, et cetera, and I love that the world of gaming and gaming culture is becoming broader and broader each year that passes, and the idea of being part of gamer culture is becoming more acceptable, because I think what's tough for us as people, all three of us have been like very staunch video game fans since we were very young. And we've always been in it, but it hasn't always been acceptable to be a gamer and to call people gamers. And there's been this air of, well, you don't get to be a gamer because either you don't play like me, you don't look like me, you don't sound like me. And it's something that I struggled with a lot throughout my entire career and throughout my time growing up. And I think a lot of people out there struggle to feel like they fit in with what gaming culture is supposed to be, and I'm using like the biggest air quotes here of like supposed to be in gaming culture. And I love that now it can be literally whatever the community wants it to be, and that there can be communities for all different types of gamers, and that we can all coexist together and say, hey, like if you don't love Overwatch, you don't have to be in our Overwatch community. Or if you don't love listening to Brittany talk about her weird obsession with Trunks, you know, that's okay too.
It's not, but that's fine. It's not okay. He's the purple-haired wonder, and y'all should worship him. But hey.
She understands where I'm trying to go here, is that there's a place for everybody. So if you're like Britt and you love purple-haired wonders, then it's good that you're here at What's Good Games, because we love purple-haired wonders too.
We do. I need to,
No, go on about your purple-haired wonder.
No, I was going to see how much I could pay you or Steimer to dye your hair purple so we can say we have legit purple-haired wonders. And then I realized that wouldn't be fair because I should dye my hair purple because I'm the one making the suggestion, but I don't want to dye my hair purple. So I just bitched out. But you asked me, so that's what was
You would
going
look
through
so
my head.
amazing with purple hair, though.
Oh, you're so nice.
I mean, like, I'm now, like, envisioning, like, this blonde to purple ombre that you could do. Oh, Britt, it would look so cool.
Yeah. Or even like purple stripes. Like, you used to do black stripes over.
You know,
We
I've
could
been
do
wanting to do
purple
something fun
clip-ins.
with my hair.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do something fun, so maybe that could be my next thing.
Ooh, exciting.
Oh, look what we've done. Oh, man.
Well, it only makes sense that we get fashion inspired when Brie is on the show. So we were
I
in
know shit.
Fargo together, and we did a Fargo party bus, which was amazing and lovely. And we're all like Britt and I are like in like t-shirt and jeans because we'd been setting up at the venue all day, and then in walks Sabriel in this like killer outfit with this black leather jacket and this black skirt and these black boots, and I'm like, girl, what the heck? I feel like I gotta go back and change because you look too good.
I know.
I was feeling I was overdressed, but hey, I'm glad.
No.
You're never overdressed.
That's
No.
right.
No.
You
You
can
look
see those-
phenomenal.
Thank you. You can see those pictures on Twitter if you go back to the What's Good Games from 2
That
weeks
was
ago.
such a good time.
Yeah.
That was such a
It
good
was
time.
amazing.
That party bus.
So much
Best
fun.
hour and a half party bus I've ever been on.
I know.
An hour
it
and a
was-
half?
Yeah, it was 90 minutes.
That went quick.
Well, yeah. Normally party buses go for a lot longer, but we had an event to get to. And thank you again to everybody who came out. It was so great to see everybody.
amazing.
So much fun. Listen, you guys want to stay in touch with Sabriel. Sabriality on Twitter is her handle. Twitch.tv/Sabriality. Please reach out. She's wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show this week. It was so great to hear from you. Thanks for being
Thank you.
our BlizzCon correspondent 2019. Feel like we should make this a regular thing. And
See you in a year.
come back to the show sometime. It was great to see you.
I will. Thank you so much for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Plus, I get to hang out with some of my favorite people on the internet.
Yay.
Thanks for hanging out with us for like 3.5 hours. You're the best.
All right, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. When we come back next week, we're going to be talking about more video games. Surprise. Until then.
What?
We'll see you next time.